The cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the.
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Our league. Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
What up? What up? What up, world? We are back. I'm Anthony, aka Rasta, and this is Get Right Fantasy Network. And I'm here on this lovely Friday evening. I think the other boys are actually still going live. I thought they were ready to turn it over to us, but you know how we do it over here. I think they're still chatting away, at least from what I see, but we'll have everyone roll over here pretty soon. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm here with my guy, the boy Phil Ruskin from the Extra Point. How you doing, Phil, man? Happy Friday.
It's your boy. What's up, dude? Happy Friday. We got a good weekend ahead. We got week 3. We got, man, I tell you what, man, I was looking at the slate this week because I was a little down last week. I looked and I was like, oh, do I really want to watch Washington and the Giant? You know what I mean? Like, there's some games this week. I know we're gonna talk about some, but there are some games this week that I'm pretty stoked, man. I'm pretty fired up for some of these matchups this week.
For sure. It wasn't great, for this Thursday night game that, got started, but they brought it back. Yeah, they brought it back around though. We do have some nice matchups to get into. Again, the guys covered about half of them already. This is part 2 of our start sit show, so we will go game by game with the remaining games that the guys didn't get to. So we have 8 games on our slate here tonight that we'll go through here with you guys. Of course, we will be getting the chats going as well. So make sure you guys drop your questions in the chat. We will get to the live Q&A section if you want us to get to your chat right away. You can drop us a super chat, man. So for those that are new to the channel, Phil, why don't you tell them what we got going on here at Get Right, and obviously your own shows as well.
Yeah, let's do it. Mondays, we got week 3 recap and top waiver ads for week 4. On Tuesdays, our boy Tycoon over at the Fantasy Boardroom. Make sure you like and subscribe to his channel. Check him out, tossing some great knowledge at you guys every Tuesday. On Wednesdays, it is back to Anthony and Frank, aka Rasta, roster management and trade targets. Discuss some buy, sell, do we hold? And then a brand new show coming on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. It's your boy. I'm adding another show. We're going to go back into the Dynasty Lab. We're going to be talking about some Dynasty Outlook, some trade talks. And then on Thursdays, I will be live again, as I have been, with the Extra Point, taking you right up to Thursday Night Football. And that show is going to focus mainly on the DFS and underdog higher or lower betting player props. So if you're looking for some DFS content, make sure you come and check out the Thursday show with me.
Absolutely, man. And then again, we're here on Fridays doing part 1 and part 2 of the start sit, going through game by game, letting you guys know who we have as must starts and must sits. And then we'll discuss, of course, those fringe players, let you know where we have them ranked. You can, of course, get our rankings over at getrighttff.com. as well too. But we love taking your live questions here. So again, drop them in the chat. We will have, of course, Classic Mike here live on at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. I think that's 11 a.m. Eastern. And for anyone that we can't answer questions now with those doubtful injury tags or questionable tags, we'll get that last minute active and active list and get your lineups right heading right up until kickoff. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button if you're new. And if you're already subbed, make sure you hit that like button as well. And Phil, I want you to tell the folks where they can find all those links to subscribe here to your channel, our channel, and of course the other affiliates here.
Yeah, so those are down in the description of each of our shows. We'll also have timestamps if you guys are wanting to find a specific game. You've got a lot of players on a certain team. You can go ahead and kind of jump through the show using the timestamps. And then I'll do my very best when Anthony and I are live here to actually throw some of these channels into the chat. So if you're following along in the chat with your questions, you want to just click the links, you can subscribe directly to our channels through the show and the chat channel.
For sure. And we'll get to those chats. So we will see them there. We see you guys dropping those chats there now. So make sure you do that. And again, if you do have to go for whatever reason, you can come back. Like Phil said, just skip to the live Q&A section. Yeah, I got you. And then we can go from there. So let me know if I don't hear anything from you now. So if you need to drop out and come back, let me know. And we'll work through it. Nothing there. All right, we'll get that worked out. We got some folks in the house here. We got Jeezy saying, "What's up? What up, Jeezy?" He's in Miami, man. He's on his break, checking in, and a little tease too as well. We have, we might be adding another show here on this show schedule. So make sure you guys are staying tuned with us here on Get Right Fantasy Network. We have Dangerous Choice saying it's easy, new subscriber. Call me crazy, but I started Aaron Rodgers over CJ Stroud. So that was one of those weeks. I guess, hey, you did it. Good stuff, man. And again, we appreciate the subscribe. Nice start, man. Go with your gut. He gave you 25 points. So, CJ could come out more or less, but for the most part, it's always nice to start off the week with the 25 spot in your QB position. So, Phil, we got you back here.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. We're good.
Weird. All right, there you go. Technology is not without its flaws.
Right. Hey, the funny that me, bro. I'm gonna get probably excited sometime during this show and just pull my whole cord and everything out. So, no worries. That happens here to us from time to time, but it's all good. That's the passion we have for this thing with you guys here. We get too excited and start yanking cords out. So, good stuff. So again, drop them in the chat, man. We will get to them when we can, and of course, you can always drop us that super chat, and we will get to your question right away. So without any further ado, man, you ready to get this show started, man? You ready to roll those sleeves up or what? Week 3. We are here.
Week 3.
We are here. Let's go. We're a fourth of the way through the fantasy season. Man, that's crazy. All right, so let's do it. So we're going to get into, hold on. I got banners, gentlemen. Let's do it. Let me get over here.
Banners.
We got banners. All right, so we got Panthers at Raiders. We have the Raiders coming in favored by 6 with a 40-point over-under. Not too much going on here in this game. I only have my must-starts as Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams going up against this defense. A couple guys that I want to talk about here. Let's start with Zamir White. Going up against this Panthers, I think this is kind of a get-right game for him, for those white truthers out there. I've been off this boat, but where do you have Zamir White this week against this Panthers defense?
I have him at RB 28, and the caveat of this is he's a sit for me, but it's the Panthers. So if you lost Pacheco, if you've got a bad feeling about Javonte Williams or the Broncos running back room, then I do think you kind of have to start White, and this is probably the only week that you can go to your bench and say, this is the one time I think it's going to go right for him because it's the Panthers. But if you have other options, he's still a sit for me. Look, everybody wants to talk about Sam Darnold and what it's going to mean for the receiving core and all these statistics for when he's been in there before and how much better it's going to be. I'm not buying any of that. I'm sitting every single Panther that I possibly can. I want absolutely nothing to do with it. And I just don't see a way where it goes right for them on the road. The Raiders Max Crosby's a game wrecker. Max Crosby and Christian Wilkinson are game wreckers. So I don't put him in your lineup, guys. Unless
Crosby is a little questionable. We'll see what happens if he's going to play or not. But we know he's a warrior. But yeah, I mean, either way, I still have White down here as well too. I have him at 32, so I don't think 28 was real bad, but we have him kind of down in that same type of area. And it just goes to show you, though, playing against this Panthers defense, I still don't even really trust it. So we'll see. I might be wrong, but again, I'm personally not starting them either. So let's move on here. Next person I do want to talk about, of course, the big news in this game is obviously, Bryce Young getting the and it's going to be Andy Dalton at the helm. So with this change at quarterback, what are your thoughts on Deontay Johnson? Does he creep back up into a starting role, or do you want to see it first?
I need a week. I was kind of what I was just alluding to, right? Like, I think a lot of people have gone through some of the stats and said, when Dalton's come into other teams, what it's meant, or when, I think for me, I just can't. I have Deontay Johnson right now at 35, and I think that's probably too high because I realized I did these rankings a little bit earlier in the week. So with some of the news that's come out, I have Demarcus Robinson ahead of him right now because of the volume that I think he's going to get in that Rams game from Stafford. So that answers your question right there. I don't think you're starting Deontay Johnson unless you absolutely have to. I have him in one of my main dynasty leagues, and he's benched this week. I'm going to roll a different route. So
yeah, I have him at wide receiver 38. Interestingly enough, one spot ahead of Demarcus Robinson. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I kind of have him about in that range. Just if Bosa's healthy in that Niner game, which we'll get into here in a little bit, it might be a little rough with the offensive line injuries they're dealing with for Robinson even to do anything this week personally. But we'll talk about that a little later. Let's get into another back here. On the other side of the ball, Chuba Hubbard, or I guess technically on the same side of the ball, but I was just talking about the Niners. Chuba Hubbard, where are we going with him? Is he startable? I mean, I like his passing game usage, but again, going up against the Raiders defense, where are we at with Chuba?
I have him at RB 32, sandwiched in between Austin Eckler and Zeke. So no, because of the ranking, I don't think he's a start, but I do think if it's kind of that break glass in case of emergency situation, because of the passing game usage in a full PPR league, I think he has more value in a half. And then obviously in a standard league, I'm going a different route.
Okay. Where did you say you had him again? What number?
32.
Oh, okay. So I actually have him at 27, but I have one spot ahead of Zeke and one spot ahead of Eckler. Just again going up this Las Vegas defense, and those two guys kind of having a split field, and I just think Dallas isn't going to run the ball much over there against Baltimore. So yeah, I just figured Hubbard might have a chance to get some work on the ground here, although they kind of bottled up Henry last week with that Raiders D. So we'll see. So good stuff. So that's who I had kind of discussing this game. I had my sits as Gardner, Madison, Myers, Tucker, Andy Dalton, Miles Sanders, Xavier Legette, Jontavian Sanders. I'm not starting any of those guys really in this game. Anybody there that you want to talk about, or are you ready to move on?
No, I just want to say one quick thing in the betting line, right? I think if you looked at last night's game, the over-under was 38 or 40 points, and it was 24-3. I see this game going very similar. I think it hits the under, and I think the Raiders cover in this one.
Okay. Yeah. Raiders +6 or -6, favored by 6 with that 40-point over-under. Yeah. All right. So good stuff. All right. So let's move it on here. Next game on the slate is going to be Dolphins at Seahawks. I have the Seahawks coming in favored by 4.5 with a 41.5 point over-under. We have, of course, Tua on IR, dealing, of course, with the concussion situation that we saw last Thursday. Looks like Mostert's probably going to be out. He's listed as doubtful, dealing with that chest injury. And then on the other side of the ball, we have Ken Walker dealing with that oblique. Looks like he's going to be doubtful. So let's kind of start there. Do you see Zach Charbonnet? I have him as a must start in this matchup against this depleted Dolphins defense. I really like him actually this week. I don't even have him as a player to discuss. I have a must start, but I wanted to get your thoughts on Charbonnet because I'm sure we'll get questions about him.
I have him as a must start, and I actually am going that way in cash as well for a DFS lineup because of the volume that we expect to get. And look, Miami's defense is middle of the pack. They got to go the length of the country, and we talked about that I think last week with the Niners going all the way to the East Coast playing those early games. I know it was Minnesota, but it's still relatively early for them. I think it's really difficult to travel the length of the country and get into a totally different time zone, especially in the 12th man. So I think it's a must start for Charbonnet. I think it's a must start for Achane. I absolutely love his usage this week with no Mostert and no Tua. I think you're going to see a very similar game script to what you saw last Thursday night against Buffalo for Achane.
Nice. Yeah, I have Achane actually as my RB5 since you mentioned him, and I actually have
I have him as RB4.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then Zach Charbonnet I actually have as my RB13.
Okay.
A little spicy there.
Yeah, I have him at 18, but
Okay.
not terribly far off.
Not too far off. Not
yeah,
too far.
I also thought Ramondre would have a better night last night than he did.
Yeah, I had Mondre at 15. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
No,
All right, so let's get into the guys that we actually wanted to talk about. I think this is a big question. We saw someone, talking in our Get Right sleeper thread as well, which go down in the description if you guys want to post your, questions there. We have a trade chat as well too. But I've been hearing a lot of stuff. What's going to happen here with Jalen Waddle with the move to Skylar Thompson. What are your thoughts on Waddle this week? Do you have him as a starter or sit?
I have him as a sit, but I also have now lost him in my rankings. There he is. He's at 28 in my rankings. I had to find him there. I have Rashid Shaheed ahead of Jalen Waddle. One spot. And the reason I bring that up quite simply is I just don't believe in Skylar Thompson. I think you're going to see a lot of Achane. I think you're going to see some designed and manufactured touches for Tyreek Hill. I don't think the Seahawks are great. No KW3. They're kind of okay as a team. So I know they're going the length of the country. I do think with the skill positions, Miami can win this game. But if I'm betting on two players in the Dolphins offense, I'm putting my money on Achane and Tyreek Hill. And if I'm wrong on Waddle, it's his week, then that's fine. I'm okay being wrong. But without Tua, without the ability to really push the ball down the field, I just don't see a world where he's going to really have a high ceiling this week. So sadly, I think you can flex him, but if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, I don't think you're starting him in one of those 3 spots.
Interesting. I have him. It's funny you mentioned Shaheed because I have them back to back, but I do have him as 25 and 26 with Waddle 1 spot still ahead. Yeah. I still think, he can get that target volume being that second. I mean, there's just nobody else. It's him and Hill, right? So I think target volume is going to be there. The defense is going to make it more pass happy script. At least Skylar's, he came in at, he didn't think he was going to play that Thursday, right? He probably was out drinking Wednesday night, what I mean? Sure, so I don't think, I don't even think, it was an issue, a mini bye week coming up. He probably had no thoughts he was going to get in the game. But so I think, with the, McDaniels, he'll design some stuff open again. He comes from that Niner offense, understanding how to just design guys open. And if he is a competent, NFL quarterback, last time he was in there where everyone was kind of comparing the numbers when Tua was last out, he was a rookie. So hopefully here over the last couple of years, he's been able to develop more, get some more reps and things under there. It's been pretty much the same offense and same skill positions there. And I mean, when you got guys like Waddle and Hill that can just basically get open and fast as all get out, I still think he's going to, walk away still with low end wide receiver 2 numbers versus being like a high end wide receiver 2. So that's my justification for 25 and my little take there on Waddle. So let's talk about Geno Smith. Been playing pretty well here. Like this new offense that they're running, kind of opening it up a little more, like the, DK, like seeing some motion going on there. JSN finally popped last week. Tyler Lockett took a little bit of a backseat. But what do you think? Let's just kind of group all these guys together. Geno Smith, JSN, and Tyler Lockett. How you kind of feeling about that trio? Because, of course, we're DKs in your lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super flex. You can start Geno. I have him at QB 16, so in single quarterback, I'm not going there. I think there's better plays this week. But in super flex, I think he's in your lineup at home. Again, we mentioned Miami's defense isn't great. He had a decent week last week, so I'm fine with that. I lost Jordan Love in a super flex, so I'm starting Geno as my QB3, as my QB2, but he's my QB3 on the roster, and I feel okay with that. If I get 15 to 18 points, I'm perfectly happy with that. So I'll be okay there. JSN, I think you can start. I loved what I saw last week. I think for me, it was a good week for him. I'm trying to find where I have him in my rankings. I have him at wide receiver 31. So if you're in a three wide receiver set, I think you can put him in there. If you're looking for a flex option, again, Miami's not great at home. No Kenneth Walker. I think you can consider him in a flex and a 2 wide receiver. So it's a little thinner. I think there's some better plays, but I'm okay with him this week. And I know you and I usually think pretty closely along the same lines. Where do you have him in your rankings?
Yeah, so JSN I have at 28. Lockett I have way down at 46.
Yeah.
And Gino I actually am a little more bullish on. I think he can have a good game against this Miami defense. And I think it's, I actually have him as like my QB 14, I think. So I'm feeling, or 13. Yeah. So I have him just actually ahead of Dak Prescott, Sam Darnold. I have Deshaun, Kirk Cousins, Purdy, Lawrence after him. So I felt just again with his weapons, like in that, spot, I feel, pretty comfortable, with Gino and how this offense is taking off. So, so good stuff there. Let's see. So obviously we're starting A-Chain, we're starting Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. We mentioned them. I have Skylar Thompson though as a sit. Obviously, if you're in a tough situation in a super flex league, you might just be stuck kind of having to throw him in there. But Jonnu, Noah Fant, the tight ends, I'm sitting in this game. Anything else? Any other comments you have? Any props or anything on this one? Are you ready to move on?
No, I think if you're in cash, I'm absolutely starting Achane. I'm starting Charbonnet. I do think it's a 3 wide receiver build in cash this week because the wide receivers are priced down. But if you really want to get into some of the guys we're going to talk about next, and you really want to go and grab Amon-Ra, then I'm okay going with only 2 running backs, and Achane and Charbonnet would be my 2 go-tos, or Achane and Mason, but we'll talk about those guys in a second. So
perfect.
But yeah, let's we got some super chats. So before we get into the next game, let's jump in here.
Oh no, those aren't the supers. I'm just kind of starring them as we go through, actually. So it'll come up like with the super, it'll be like highlighted and it'll have how much they, are sending our way.
All excited, man.
I'm trying to, make sure I don't want to skip folks and I don't want it to be crazy of us trying to scroll through. So I kind of figured this out that we can kind of mark them as they come in. So when we get to that live Q&A section, we can rattle them off and not miss them. For the folks here that are dropping it.
Y'all got to wait. You heard the man. You got to wait.
We're waiting. Again, you drop us a super chat, though. We'll get to it right away like Phil was about to. You see what the power of that was.
Trick me.
Yeah, I got you a little excited. So my bad. But yeah, someone throw Phil a super chat, man, so he can see what it looks like. So we're not confused.
There's no foul on the play. The flag fell out of the referee's pocket.
Yeah, we're picking up the flag here on that one. All right, good stuff. All right, so let's move on here, man. Next game on the slate that we have is going to be a good one, man. I'm definitely looking forward to this. We have the Lions coming in favored by 3 at the Cardinals at home in the desert with a 51.5 point over under. Let's go. This is music to fantasy football players' ears. We have actually Greg Dortch showed up today pulling a hammy in practice, so that's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. Most likely going to be out. So let's just kind of start actually there. Because pretty much you're starting all the these are all guys who are dropped in like the top 5. So there's really only a couple folks I even really want to even talk about here. And I pretty much only one of them I think is even possibly a candidate for a sit. But just kind of for the discussion. So because of the injury, actually, it makes the Michael Wilson play a little more interesting. What do you think about Michael Wilson in this game?
I'm still probably not going to go there just because I think the other plays are so strong. But if you're in a pinch, and I can tell you right now, I've got a pretty deep dynasty league. Michael Wilson's on that roster, and I am in a pinch. I have no AJ Brown. I have no T Higgins. Michael Wilson's probably going to play for me this week. Simply, if you're in that kind of a situation, I think you can go there and just hope and pray that he gets one of the touchdowns. If you're not in that situation, I do think he's the only player that you can sit. I love the running backs in this game. We're all hoping Marv does what he did, or at least comes close to what he did last week. And then obviously we feel good about McBride. So he's the one play, Michael Wilson, that I'm a little lower on. Start them all, baby.
Yeah, so it's like for me, man, like I have Christian Watson down at like wide receiver 47. There's just a lot of wide receivers I feel like I like kind of this week. So like if I have him there, I can't have Michael Wilson too far ahead, but behind. But I have him at about 51 right now. I have him still behind DeAndre Hopkins, Dobbs, Mooney, Watson, like I said, Tyler Lockett. I'm still giving Coleman a chance. But again, that's at wide receiver 45. So I feel like that's a decent range. Again, I'll have to keep taking a look at it here and see if there could be some opportunities. Because obviously, Dortch has caught a couple touchdowns there, so far this year. So again, maybe more of a DFS, type play if you need to, get something cheap in there in a shootout type game just to get a piece of this game. But as far as like you said, your typical redraft leagues, you're probably not in that situation where you need to flex them unless you're starting like 12 or 13, spots. But like you said, in several dynasty leagues, which of course we have a lot of dynasty players here. And I think we had someone in the chat saying it was their first year playing dynasty, actually right back up at the top. In those kind of situations, you might be, in a spot, like you said, where you're going to have to find a way to get him in, or might have to have him in your lineup. So well said there. The other guys I want to talk about here, just Jameson Williams, man. I just want to know, I mean, I'm sure you have him as a start. I just want to know how high you have him ranked at this point. It seems like he's on fire here.
Where do I have him? I have him
coming in week 3.
You know what's going to happen. I'm not going to manifest it, but we're all so excited. And you know how sometimes these games go with the big score lines. I have him at wide receiver 20 this week. So he is a start for me. And it's only because I like some of the other guys. But I just want to say this about Jameson Williams. 85% of the snaps in week 1, 92% of the snaps in week 2, 9 targets in week 1, 11 targets in week 2. And Amon-Ra was invisible week 1. And Amon-Ra had a much better game in week 2. So the problem with the Lions, obviously you're starting them all. I'm starting Jameson Williams. The problem is there's only so many, someone's going to fail, right? They can't all, unless we get a 60, point game here and they all get 1 touchdown apiece, someone is going to fail. 5 for 79 last week. So it's still a good stat line for Jameson Williams. So if he is the one that fails and doesn't catch the touchdown, if it does go to Gibbs, Monty, and Amon-Ra, I think you can still start him. Laporta. Or Laporta. I've kind of forgotten. Hopefully Laporta right now. Hopefully, Laporta needs to. He's sort of needs doing, one. He's doing the David Blaine right now. He's not existent. But I think, so I'll take kind of double this up with Jameson and insert Lion here. I think there'll be enough yardage in this game. I think there'll be enough volume that even without a touchdown, the guy should still give you a usable week, whoever you have. Obviously, get the touchdown, you're going to get a ceiling performance.
Good stuff. Good stuff there. I am actually even a little more bullish than that at wide receiver 20. I have him as my wide receiver 15, man. In this game with the shootout, with his potential, he can easily go for $130 and 2 touchdowns. Like that ceiling is there in this offense. So I mean, I'm finding a way to get him in my lineup right now. So I have ahead of guys like Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Mike Evans, who I'm kind of down with this week. Malik Neighbors, don't kill me on that. We'll probably get into that a little later. Drake London, Tingdale, Mari Cooper. I mean, I'm just, give me Jameson Williams over those guys right now for 1 week. So yeah. And then the other question is just Jared Goff. In 1 QB leagues, is he a starter right now? Getting off to a slow start. Is this a get right game for him?
I'm the most bullish on him of all the Lions. I have him at QB 9. I think he's a starter in single quarterback this week. I do think it's a get right spot for him. It's a dome game. We know what he does in the dome. We've talked about it all year. It's 13 or 14 of the 17. No, excuse me. It's 15 of 18 games they play in the dome. So at this point, I just hope it lives up to the billing, because if it does, it's going to be fantasy goodness for all. And these are the teams that you drafted in redraft. These are the players you drafted in best ball. I mean, this is a big, regardless of what kind of format you play in, this is a monster game, and this is hopefully going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
For sure. So I'm right there with you. I have Goff as my QB 10 this week. So I have him as a start here in your 1 QB leagues. And I literally can't even think of anyone in this game to sit besides like the ancillary pieces, like both tight ends, all 2 or 3 wide receivers you can potentially start on both sides. Maybe not the 3rd wide receivers in this game, but definitely the top 2 in each game. And so just any piece of this game you can get them in your lineup. All right. So just for you, Phil, this is what a super chat looks like. So appreciate you, Nino Pina. He says he has a have question in the other live stream. So maybe you got it answered. Maybe you're just throwing us $1.99. If you got another question, let me know. But again, appreciate you throwing that over our way to show Phil here what that super chat looks like. Jeezy, appreciate it, man, coming out here. And he says, why are the Niners losing this week? Of course, trying to troll the 2 of us here. So I don't know if I'm going to justify that with a reasonable response here, Jeezy.
I'll give it to you. They're not.
Okay. Even with all
That's
the
all I have
injuries,
to
we're going to get it. There we go. We're going to get into that game here in a
we're gonna
second.
get into that. Have you seen this is the bloodbath game. We'll talk about that one next because ain't
For
nobody
sure.
playing this game.
For sure. So yeah, so let's see. And since Jeezy threw the super chat out there too, man, make sure you give him his moment. ACG Veterans Invitational Charity League that Jeezy puts out every year. $10 donation goes towards the I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeezy, but the Wounded Warriors, I think it is, or for the veterans, for the canines. I know that's what they do for the folks that are dealing with PTSD. So it's a great cause. Again, appreciate all the veterans and their sacrifices for them and their families, what they've done. It's a great cause. I've been doing it, I think, for 2 or 3 years now since Jeezy and I connected. That I've been in the league. It's a lot of fun. It mirrors the Scott Fishbowl settings, so it's really fun. Changes every year. So again, we have some more announcements on this too, but hopefully we'll get a lot more folks here from the Get Right, viewership in this tournament next year. So we're looking forward to that. So again, appreciate you, Jeezy. All right. So here was Nino's question. He answered, or he asked it in the other chat, but we'll give him our response here. So he says, I got offered Gibbs, Ken Walker with Sharp, and DK Metcalf for Jamar Chase, Monty, and B-Rob. So which side of that are you taking? Gibbs with the Seattle backfield locked up and Metcalf, or do you want the Chase, Monty, and B-Rob side?
Chase, Monty, B-Rob. It's just too many Seahawks for me. How do you play them? What happens? You basically they can't all score on the same play. You can't play Walker and Sharps together. So give me the Chase, Monty, B-Rob side.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. Jesus says it's canines for Warriors. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I really appreciate that, man. Good stuff. And Willie Do, yeah. So we got your question, man. I see you dropped it here a couple times. Like we mentioned, we are going to get to your question here at the end of the show during our live Q&A section. If you want to drop a super chat, that was the reason why we got to these guys' questions here. But we do have it starred, and Willie, we will be getting to your question. If you do have to go, just rewatch it on the recording. You'll be able to go into the chapters and hit that live Q&A chapter, and it'll probably be one of the top ones. You were one of the first ones to comment, so we'll get to that here shortly. So let's move on, man. We'll get into the next game here, which is should be another good one, man. This one should be exciting. We got a lot of good games here to cover. Ravens at Cowboys, man. Ravens coming in 0-2 with the Cowboys 1-1. We have Baltimore favored by 1 in the Cowboys' house, even though they're 0-2. We have a 47.5 point over under. So expecting still some scoring here with these offenses, but also, pretty good defenses as well, too. Players that I want to talk about here. We're starting a lot of guys. Obviously, we're starting Lamar, we're starting Dak, Lamb, Andrews, Flowers, and Derrick Henry. Anything to say about those guys? Are you firing them all up, or anyone you have on the edge?
No, you're firing them up. I just think, again, you've just got to make sure that Derrick Henry scores a touchdown. That's it.
Yeah, but you can't not have
you're still starting them.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple guys here that might be, guys we're talking about. Isaiah Likely obviously popped off huge that first week, big waiver wire ad of week 1, and then kind of went a little silent here week 2. What do we expect here in week 3?
I'll be honest. I don't know what to expect. I just looking at Mark Andrews from last week. He was 63% snap share, 5 targets, caught 4 of them, 51 yards. Wasn't stellar. I said on my show earlier this week, I was concerned about I was on a different podcast where I said this. So I was concerned about the quote unquote old tight end ones, Andrews and Kelsey. I think the volume suggests that you can look at flexing that you can play him in the tight end spot. I wouldn't flex him. He's not emerged really as that number 2 receiver, but I just don't know what to do with him. I think again the tight end landscape is so thin. If you're the Jake Ferguson owner and he doesn't play, if you're the George Kittle owner who's now trending towards doubtful and likely is the backup tight end that you drafted, I think you're playing him and hope you get a week 1 result. I think if you have a better option, go with the better option, and if he pops off, that sucks. But the reality is you just don't know how it's going to go with this usage. And the Dallas defense is still the Dallas defense at home.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at, man. I mean, just like you said, given just the freaking landscape of tight ends, regardless of what has happened, I still have him as my, tight end 10. Interestingly enough, I couldn't find really too many people to put ahead of him. Like, I'd rather play him than Fairmuth or Henry, Ertz, Schultz, Gesicki, Taysom Hill, Colby Parkinson. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's like I just can't find anybody else. Like, I wanted to put other people ahead of him. I didn't want to have 2 Ravens tight ends as my, in my top 10 for tight end rankings, but I do. So I think he is, that third target there, behind Andrews and Flowers, who I'm pretty high on Flowers. I've liked what I've seen so far, although it hasn't really resulted in real winning football for the Ravens themselves. But so we'll see, maybe going back to Andrews is, what they need to do. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested to see this game and how it plays out. So many storylines here with this one. Of course, we heard the comments of what Lamar was saying, calling out his own team. Are they even wanting to play as hard as he is? Like, I think he can have a huge game this week. Myself, I actually have him as my QB1 overall this week because of that. And so that's what I'm thinking about likely. Let's talk about Justice Hill. Signs that extension today, little $6 million 2-year extension. So we kind of know what his role is. Obviously, they like him. They looks like he is this third down back. But I have him on here because he could be an interesting play. If a lot of points start scoring and this game script flips a little bit, and it goes up tempo. We're going to see kind of what we saw against the Chiefs week 1 with his usage, and is that flexible if we do see that?
I think if Ferguson sits, Justice Hill becomes more interesting from a pass catching perspective because I still don't rate Brandon Cooks. But excuse me, my brain just went completely backwards. That's the wrong team. Sorry. I'm looking at who we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, that's next.
My brain was like, that's not the right team, buddy. I have him at running back. Let me try that again as well. Boy, what a day.
Yeah, it's okay. It's Friday.
It's Friday, baby. Here we go. Running back 46. So no, I don't have him as a usage play, but I do think in PPR formats, again, if you've lost Pacheco, if you've lost some other guys, then you might have to go there. What I will say is the extension for 2 years and the money does make him a little bit more interesting in dynasty formats. So he's probably not on your waiver wire. I wouldn't trade for him, but just go check your waiver wires. You never know who's out there. It is possible that he's sitting in one of your leagues on the waiver wire, and go pick him up because, again, like you said, that first week against the Chiefs, we liked the usage. It was almost all volume from a passing perspective. I think the question you have to ask yourself is, do you believe the Cowboys are going to get out to a lead? Because if they are, then that's where Hill becomes more interesting. If you believe the game is more in the balance or the Ravens are winning it, then it's going to be pound the rock with Derrick Henry and run it with Jackson. So I don't have him in my lineups this week.
All right. Yeah, and I'm kind of right there with you. I have him just on that borderline of that flex spot. I have him as my running back 37, right behind Javonte Williams. And you know how I kind of feel about him, but just given his status, quote unquote, in that offense, I felt like I needed to put him ahead of Justice Hill, just with the volume and playing time. But I have him ahead of guys like Rico Dowdle, Bucky Irving, Gus Edwards, even Carson Steele, who I'm not quite sold on, and then Chase Brown and McLaughlin, Devontae Foreman, Braylon Allen, who I kind of had down there, but he had a nice week. But I'd love to be able to talk about that. I can't wait to talk Braylon Allen on Monday. So and Wednesday, I'm sure it'll be a topic. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with him. If you're in a real weird spot, with injuries and things, like I feel kind of okay just given the game script and his usage. And again, being that pass catching back. And again, this is for full PPR leagues more so than even half or non. But yeah, I kind of have him right there on that fringe as, hey, if you got to do it, I'll at least go with this guy over Dowdle at this point in the full PPR league. So, All right. So let's move on here. The guy you were trying to talk about first, Brandon Cooks kind of had a little off game last week, if you want to call it that. I think it's just kind of what we expect out of Brandon Cooks. But he is back here at home where I think he's scored out of 8 of the last 9 games at home. Going again up against this Baltimore defense, good secondary. I'm sure that attention is going to be on CeeDee Lamb. Is Brandon Cooks a sneaky little play here this week?
I mean, I'm going to say no. And the simple reason is they got absolutely destroyed by New Orleans in the game last weekend. He played 81% of the snaps. He had 2 targets. in a game where they were losing 41. I think at one point it was 41-10 before they scored that last touchdown. So you're telling me that you can't even get a target in a game where you're losing by 100 points? So no, I'm not going there. If Ferguson doesn't play, this is what I was trying to say earlier. If Jake Ferguson isn't healthy, I still don't want to go there. So unless you absolutely have to, just stay away. I mean, CD says his ankle's fine. I was just looking at some reports while you were doing some quick chatting just to see if there's any breaking updates that I missed.
I didn't have anything. Yeah.
So I haven't seen anything either. So I think CD plays, and I think Ferguson plays this week too. He seems to be trending towards playing. So I love Jake Ferguson in this game. I like CD in this game, and that's really all I want on Dallas.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the guy we're going to talk to next. Yeah, is Ferguson dealing with that knee? Again, like you're saying, from what I'm seeing, looks like he is trending towards the right direction of playing. They said he practiced all week and responded well, which means no setbacks or anything that had them pause for concern as he's ramping back up. And then the thing that I was kind of wrong about last week is actually if Ferguson doesn't play, I don't mind throwing Schoonmaker in there. Because Dak, it just looks likes that tight end position, no matter who it was, going back to the Jason Witten days and, Dalton Schultz before he even knew who Dalton Schultz was. And, just anyone, even Hendershot had a couple big games when Schultz was out, a couple years ago. So, I think just that tight end position is a good spot in this offense for Dak. It's a safety blanket for him. So I'm trying to find a way to get Ferguson in my lineup if he is healthy, and if he's not. To me, it's a nice, easy pivot to go Schoonmaker, who should be available for you. So my sits I have Tolbert as a sit, talking Brandon Cooks. I'm not, he had a nice catch. It was a really nice catch. But it was nice. And a couple big catches, right? So, but normally Brandon Cooks is the guy getting those. If it starts to become more of a trend, then okay, I'll trend towards the younger Brandon Cooks, if you will. Remember Tolbert was a big thing in the dynasty world a few years ago when he was coming out. And then obviously wasn't even active on the roster, that kind of stuff. And so, he's kind of fallen a little out of favor, I think, with the dynasty owners. Haven't heard much, of him or seen him involved in trades and things like that. You could probably talk more as our dynasty expert on that more than me. But I have him here as a sit, and I still have Bateman as a sit, even though he's my guy. I still have him stash places. There is that opportunity for him to emerge. He had a couple nice catches in the last game, but we'll see what happens there. But I still have him as a sit for now.
Yeah, I agree. Perfect.
All right, so let's do it. You want to do the underdog read, or I don't know? I could do it real quick. Why not? I'll bang it out.
You sure you got it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was like, I've already felt like I've been talking here a little too much. I think that people need to hear your voice a little more. But of course, this is brought to you by our sponsors, man, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you guys go check them out. Of course, they are the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Of course, we all love their best ball. Of course, the big best ball mania and their big tournaments, going on in the off season. And then, of course, they still will have their weekly and daily fantasy type best ball drafts as well too, which mean no waivers, no trading, no setting your lineup 6 week. But the thing I love that they're doing now, of course, are their pick'ems. We do have the free CD Lamb pick'em when you do sign up. So when you do sign up, make sure you use that promo code GetRight. Not only will you get that free pick'em, you will also get $1,000 in up to $1,000 in bonus cash with a 50% deposit match. That's a ton of money, man. When I first signed up, it was only like $100 that I can max out at. So try to take advantage of this as you can. Get in one of those pick'em contests. Get in some of their best ball drafts, man. It's an awesome platform. Really helps prepare you as well for your real drafts. Ever since I've been playing Underdog, I felt like it's really been helping me in my managed leagues as well. So again, use that promo code checkout and come get in a pick'em with us today. All right. So next game we'll talk about, man, our boys over here.
Bang, bang.
It's hard to, that's basically, it feels like what's been going on. Not only literally bang, bang going on with Ricky Pearsall, but everyone else, things are snapping and all kind of other noises are happening with these guys. But we got the Niners coming in still with all that, favored by 6.5 against these pesky Rams that we always seem to play a little interesting with, but they're banged up as well too. So it's like we got a game of the replacements going on here this week. 43.5 point over under. Injuries on both sides of the balls for both teams. I don't even know where to start. Debo dealing with the calf injury. He's most likely out. You got Kittle listed as doubtful, but that popped up in the middle of the week. He's most likely out. Obviously, CMC's already on IR. You have Puka on IR. Cooper Cup's been talking about going IR. I mean, just this entire slate here, which was probably set up to be a nice matchup here in week 3, just turned out to be who knows what's going to happen in this game. So let's talk about it. A lot of guys to talk about in this game and what to do because of all the injuries. So let's start at the quarterback positions for both teams. You have Purdy on one side, Stafford on the other. Obviously, a lot of their top options, top weapons, you can argue each of their top 2 weapons are completely gone in this game. So where do you kind of have these quarterbacks ranked? And, are you starting them here in 1 QB leagues?
So I struggled with this because 1, I try to take the bias out as a Niners fan, but 2, from a analyst perspective, I have Brock Purdy at QB 11. I have him at QB 11 because we haven't seen the rookies throw a touchdown pass yet. So I have him ahead of the rookies, but behind just about everyone else that you'd want to start, right? And excuse me, I have Brock Purdy at QB 12. I apologize for that. Just behind Dak. So to me, it's interesting that people are so low on him because the offensive line's fine, right? I think you've got a really, really bad team in the Rams. They have no offensive line themselves. They've got a bad defense. It's basically a home game for the Niners because we take over SoFi whenever we travel real well anyway. You're going to see more red than blue and yellow. If I have another option in a single quarterback league, I'd rather go there just because I'm put it this way. Debo's in my bench. He's on my bench right now, and so is Kittle. I'm just planning on both of them being out. So I think it's a smash spot for Brandon Ayuk this week. I think it's a great Jordan Mason and a great Brandon Ayuk this week. But in super flex, I would still play Purdy. You just have to temper your expectations. In single quarterback, like I said, he's right on that cusp for me at QB 12. So I think you can play him, but only because I think the Rams are poor. And if you have a better option, which you probably don't, go there. But if you're the single quarterback, because that's the guy you've drafted, yeah, you just play him. And that's probably where he finishes. He probably gets that kind of high-end QB2, maybe gets the passing touchdowns, and gets that back-end QB1 finishes for you this week.
Yeah, man, I'm not quite there with you on this one. I actually have Brock here, my boy down here at QB 18. I have Stafford kind of right behind him here at QB 20. And the reason being is, like you said, man, there's just no one there. If Debo and Kittle are both out, it leaves Ayuk. He's not going to go for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think what you said about Mason having a big day, Shanahan might just, if we do get close to that, end zone, I mean, I think he goes for at least a touchdown and probably like 250 yards. But I don't think he can get multiple passing touchdowns in this game. I think, Mason has a higher chance of getting 2 touchdowns in this game. Again, he hasn't really been firing on all cylinders. Purdy has. I kind of haven't liked too much of what I've seen from him. Has been missing a couple throws here and there, but there's just other guys that I feel have, are in some other better shootouts, with all their weapons, that normally I wouldn't have. Normally I kind of have Purdy in that, 12 to 14 range, when he has all his weapons easily. He's just a walking, back in QB1, sometimes even higher, in the right, situation. But yeah, I just can't get behind either of these quarterbacks this week. Obviously in Superflex, you're going to have to start them. But in 1 QB leagues, there's a couple other guys like even Sam Darnold, Dak Prescott. I know you don't like it, but Deshaun Watson and Kirk Cousins, I even have ahead of him going up against the Giants and Kirk going up against Kansas City in a potential shootout there. With him looking a little better, I would just feel a little more comfortable with those guys and those potential game scripts.
Kirk Cousins on prime time, buddy. Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. I mean, he was on prime time last week and led a game-winning drive. So. And we all saw it. So
that's true, but
a lot of pressure too in that situation. They're under pressure, and he still made it happen. They went down.
Chris Jones is a game wrecker.
Yeah, he is. You might talk me into moving up a couple spots, but that's where I have him for now.
Yeah, I have Stafford at 23. I have him as an absolute sit. I don't want any part of the Rams this week. I'll be honest with you. I know you have to start Kyron, but I don't think Kyron's going to have a great week. I think the Niners are going to stack the box because there's no wide receivers. I think the Niners are just going to stack the box and say, great, beat us somewhere else because we're not going to let Kyron do it. So
right. I have him as a must start just because I think where you drafted him, you have to, and just given the landscape of running back, you have to. But yeah, I definitely am down on him as well this week. I actually have him. Where do I have him? Yeah, I have him as my RB 17. So
let me see. Let me change mine from quarterback. I have him at 16. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So we're about the same on that.
Yep.
So good stuff. All right. Juwan Jennings, interesting with Debo out, Kittle out. Is Jennings someone you can flex this week?
I think you can. I know you don't want to, but because there's nobody, there's nobody else. So I think here's the caveat. I think what you just said, Ross, is a really good point. I'm glad you brought it up. If you're down on Brock Purdy, then you sit Jennings.
Okay.
Because of the correlation. I think if you're a little bit more bullish like I am, I still think there's enough around the Niners to get Purdy. I think it's the Sam Darnold conversation of, does Justin Jefferson, have to just be Justin Jefferson to bring Sam Darnold along? I think Brandon Ayuk can be Brandon Ayuk and Jordan Mason can be Jordan Mason, and it can still get Purdy to a decent day. And if he only has one passing touchdown and it doesn't go to Ayuk, it's going to Jennings. So I think if you believe Brock Purdy can still have a decent fantasy day, you can play Jennings. If you are out on Purdy, that sounds like maybe you are, then no, you can't play him.
Question for you. 20-man league, my son's league. I don't know if you remember when I was telling you he was drafted in that league with his baseball team, high school baseball team. He picked up Jennings. Interestingly enough, and somebody dropped Jordan Love. He texted me, "Hey, Dad, should I pick up Jordan Love? You think he's starting?" I was like, "Bro, you go grab Jordan Love right now because he has Caleb." I was like, "Stop texting me and go grab him, and then come back and let me know who else is available. Who else are people dropping?" But yeah, so there's no IR spots. So you with 20 players, or 20 teams, it's tough to manage. But so he's wanting to start Juwan Jennings over Amari Cooper, and I'm kind of like,
that's a little rich for me.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, but son, do what you want, man. I mean, hey, play with who you want to root for. Obviously, he's not obviously, because my oldest son is actually a Broncos fan, but my younger son is a Niners fan with us here. So I'm like, hey, if you want to root for the Niners, man, and root for your guy, and if he lets you down, then hey, at least you went down with your guy. I totally understand that. That's what fantasy is all about. I'm like, I can't quite get there. Like the analysts in me won't let me put Jennings quite ahead of Cooper, but I can see if you're in that kind of situation and been that Cooper owner with what we've seen these last couple of weeks to just take a flyer on Jennings with the situation that we've been talking about. So
we'll put that in the bold predictions category
for sure. So it's definitely a matchup I'm watching this week to see Jennings versus Cooper, and of course, whichever one I were to tell him, the other one's going to go off. So that's why I'm like, son, you got to just make that decision. I don't want you to hate me over that. All right. So Demarcus Robinson, Ty Johnson, Kobe Parkinson, any of these Rams pass catchers, are you is anyone there we're starting, or are you kind of staying away?
I do think Demarcus Robinson's an interesting flex if you really need somebody. The caveat is that there is 3 missing offensive linemen, so I'd rather not go there. I'm in a ton of leagues, as you know, but I have one league where I have to start Demarcus Robinson because I'm thin at wide receiver, so I don't have a choice. I don't expect it to go well. I'm not starting Ty Johnson. I'm not really going there with Parkinson, but I will say this, in DFS, if my memory's right, Colby Parkinson's like $3,600 or something on DraftKings, so he's pretty affordable as a punt tight end this week. He only really needs to get you like 30 yards to pay that off. I do think he can get there, and with the offensive line being as banged up as it is, I expect Sean McVay to let Stafford get the ball out quick. I expect him to kind of just 2-3 step drop, maybe some screen passes, and just kind of get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible with those backup offensive linemen in. So Colby Parkinson's interesting in DFS, but not in a managed league.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's see. And Jesse, we see in the chat, man, we have your questions here starred. Anybody else, of course, you're hanging around to get to the live Q&A section at the end of this show. If you do want us to get your question right away, you can drop us the super chat. But other than that, is there anyone else here in this game where we're chatting about? Are you ready to move on to the next one here?
Let's do it. Let's
do it, man. All right.
Falcons.
Chiefs coming in as 3-point favorites over the Falcons with a 46.5 point over under in this one. Obviously, Pacheco dealing with that fractured fibula. He's on IR, expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks. You had the big waiver wire guys here this week being picked up, Carson Steele and P. Ryan, Kareem Hunt, who got signed a few days after. Obviously, Hunt didn't get activated for this game, so you don't have to at least worry about that situation, but that could come down the line. But let's start there in this Kansas City backfield with P. Ryan and Carson Steele. Give me your thoughts kind of on these guys if you have missed sits and where you have them ranked.
Can you put me on the main screen for this? Because I need this to be on record.
Go right ahead. I got you.
Start Xavier Worthy. You can take me off the main. You can take me off the main screen now.
All right.
I have been in a dynasty format. Y'all have seen our content, listened to our content. I've been pretty bearish on Xavier Worthy's outlook in a dynasty perspective. It's 2 weeks. We saw one spike week of massive ceiling, and then we saw poo-poo last week. With Pacheco going to IR, look, I'm gonna come back to Worthy in just 1 second. I think P. Ryan and Steele are going to be involved. I need to see who it's going to be. I think Steele seems to be the hotter of the two waiver wire ads, but P. Ryan's a good pass catcher. So I do think they're both going to get worked in. I wouldn't start either of them until we really see it. If you have to, because you're the Pacheco owner and you picked up Carson Steele, sure, put him in there and hope that he falls in the end zone.
Right.
But if you pick them up because, you were trying to play defense, like one of the teams in my league did, who did not have Pacheco and picked him up anyway, which was a brilliant move, then I think you can bench him and just hope it doesn't work out for him this week. But my point coming back to Worthy is, I think without Pacheco, you're going to see Mahomes get Worthy more involved on some of these, like we saw in week 1, end around screens, manufactured touches, quick out routes. I think you're going to see some of these passing touchdowns increase for Mahomes that could potentially have gone to Pacheco. I think you'll see Travis Kelce have a better week this week. So I do think the passing volume ramps up for Mahomes and the pass catchers. I would prefer not to put Steele or P. Ryan in my lineup unless I have to. But yeah, get Xavier Worthy on the field this week.
For sure. So we'll leave that there. No need to talk about him anymore. Get him in your lineups. Let's talk about Kirk Cousins, Drake London, and Darnell Mooney on the other side of the ball. Where do you kind of have these guys as a little trio? Are they startable at this point, or you still want to see a little more?
So you had...
or I meant more so Cousins and Mooney more startable.
No,
London you probably have to start. But
London you're starting. You had Purdy at 18, didn't you?
Yeah.
I have Cousins at 18.
Okay.
I don't like it. I don't like it in prime time. I don't like it on the road. The Jets defense, I don't think is really that good. I think they just played the Patriots last night. They have not been great. They've been actually comparable to what we thought they would be. They haven't been stellar. So, and I know they played the Eagles last week, but it was just, to me, it was like Kirk Cousins. I don't want to go there. I don't like it. I think Chris Jones is a game wrecker. I think the Chiefs win this game and they win it big.
Yeah, pressure in Kirk Cousins' face, man, is not a good thing.
It's hard. The offensive line's not great. Like Bijan's involvement has been fantastic, but he hasn't gotten in the end zone yet.
Right.
And I think this is a week where Bijan could score, which takes unless it's a passing touchdown. But I do think this is a rushing touchdown week for Bijan. 0 touchdowns on the season. So it's just, again, I think I'm not going to say it was a fluke because it was an incredible drive and Drake London made one hell of a catch and it was a great throw. But I think the Eagles kind of fell apart. You know what I mean? Like, I think they kind of lost the game more so than the Falcons won it.
Barkley dropped the ball. I mean, we wouldn't even seen that drive. It was in the bag. It was wide open.
Having this conversation. Yeah. So, I'm lower on Cousins this week. I like Kansas City at home. It's primetime Captain Kirk, and I can see a lot of ways that it fails. I can see more ways that it fails than the ways that it goes right. So
there you go.
I'm personally lower on Cousins this week.
Okay. I have Kirk and Purdy back to back. Like I mentioned, Kirk at 17, Purdy at 18. Just again, a lot of question marks there. I do have London, at wide receiver 20, but I do have Neighbors, even Evans, who I think is not in a great matchup going up against Pat Surtain ahead of him. I want to see more. I have like Tank Dell, Amari Cooper, George Pickens, right behind him, even though I think George Pickens might have a big week this week. He's just waiting to bust out, but we'll get into that. I don't even think we have that game, but that's a nice little play there as well. So that's where I'm at with those guys. Mooney's I still have as a sit as well too. Let's just see kind of what happens there. But I still think, this offense should be running through Bijan, Pitts, and London. That's where they've invested, and that's where they should be doing it. So we, of course, we're starting Mahomes, we're starting Rice, we're starting Kelce, Bijan, Pitts, like we talked about. And then, Watson, Juju, McLeod, Algier. I mean, I have those guys as sits.
Yep. Agree.
Right. All right, cool. So we got another super chat here, man. Before we get into the next breakdown here, we have our guy, Cooler Hand. He says in PPR, he has Hurts, Ramondre, Sharps, Akers, Steele, Braylon, Pacheco, Zay, CD, Jameson, London, DeMarcus, Higgins, and Laporta. Who should I trade for a better RB room?
Ramondre, Sharps, Akers, Steele, Braylon, and Pacheco. I mean, your most valuable asset is Ramondre, so I think that's how you're going to upgrade. I question what you're going to have to package something because there's no way you're going to get a 1-for-1 there.
I'm not giving up on Ramondre after this bad week. I think he's actually a nice little buy low. He might be on the thumbnail for next Wednesday's show. But I'm looking at T. Higgins is kind of what's popping out at me. T. Higgins may be coming back here this week. With the notion of him running back before he actually comes back, maybe a deal you can get done like tomorrow. Is there a running back maybe you think is on that like Higgins value that can be an upgrade over these other guys?
It's possible. I think you could potentially go and see if you could grab. You could go and see if you could grab Mixon. I think that would be an interesting trade in a 1-for-1. I actually go now that I look at this, I'm not out on Ramondre. I was just thinking if he was asked. I read the question is could I trade a running back for a better running back room? I guess I should have read it as can I trade somebody, which is the way
Right.
I would see if Drake London has a game again this week, and I would trade him. Because you've got CD, you've got Zay Flowers. We love what Jamison Williams is doing so far.
Yeah.
I'm still high on Higgins. I know you've been very high. You and I both have been very high on Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet, but I do think once that starts to come together, Joe Burrow's always been a slow starter. He just has. So I think you're going to have better second quarter of the season. So if London has another decent game or scores another touchdown, I think you could sell high and go and try to grab a high value running back on the off, getting London off the roster with someone that's really trying to go and grab a higher value. He's still a first round pick. He was at that 1-2 turn, in all of your leagues. So you're still thinking of him that way. But that's where I would go. And if I do that, assuming London has a good game,
can you get like a Josh Jacobs?
Well, it's funny you said that. That was the exact name I was thinking.
I mean, we think alike.
I was thinking, could I get a Jacobs? Could I get a Cook? If Cook comes back down to reality this week, and I do think he does, 3 touchdowns would be wonderful, but I doubt that happens again. Could you go get someone in that, because that's where I think, James Cook, Josh Jacobs, who else is in that range? Those are probably the names. Actually.
Brian Robinson, maybe someone's worrying about Travis Etienne. Could you do that? They were kind of drafted around the same.
I'd rather have London over B-Rob.
Okay.
Etienne
David Montgomery.
Monty was the other name I was going to say. Monty would be the other name because obviously
James Conner, maybe?
I'd rather have London than Connor, I think.
Okay.
I think.
Maybe even Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams.
I'd rather have London.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little tough. But yeah, the biggest thing is send some offers out there and, keep us posted, man. We have a trade show on Wednesdays is when we talk about those trades. So if you don't get anything done here this weekend, definitely come back with us on Wednesday. I want to hear if you did get a trade done as well, too. So let us know, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat, of course. And, we'll hopefully we answer that to your satisfaction. If you have a follow-up, just let me know. You don't have to drop another super. But yeah, we'll definitely follow up with you, especially for $5 super chat, man. We appreciate that. All right, so let's get on to this next game here on the slate. And then, of course, anyone else, just keep dropping your questions in the chat. We will get to them in our live Q&A section. But just like you saw, if you do drop us a super chat, we will stop and get to it right away. So here we go. Next game on the slate is going to be the Jaguars at the Bills, coming in favored by 5. You have 45.5 point over-under here in this game. Struggling Jags and this new look Bills offense. We're starting the regulars, in this game here. Josh Allen, of course, he's in there coming off a 11-point fantasy game. Wasn't great, but you're getting him in your lineups. James Cook coming off the monster game. He's going to be there. I still have ETN as a must start just with his usage and passing, upside there. But a lot of guys I have here kind of, that I want to talk about. So, we've been kind of talking about, these quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked great so far. I know you've had some choice things to say in our group chats. So I'd like to know, where do you have him ranked this week?
I have him at quarterback 17, and I actually now, because I had Cousins at 18, I might put Cousins just a slight spot ahead of him. But I've been, for those that don't know, and obviously you're not privy to the group chat, I've been very down. I've been very down on Trevor Lawrence since preseason. I've said that this is not going to go well for him. I thought the Jaguars were trending down after trading Calvin Ridley away and bringing in Gabe Davis. I thought that was a tremendous downgrade. I have him as a sit. I don't on the road. He's not. No, I can't go there. I don't want to go there. And I'll be honest, in Superflex, I think you have to go there. But if you're one of those teams that's got 3 really good quarterbacks, if you drafted Patrick Mahomes and then punted and, somehow got Baker late and Trevor Lawrence, I'd absolutely play Baker over him. I have him well ahead of him in the rankings this week.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was just trying to think of names.
Shake and Bake's at 11, but yeah.
I think I have him at 9. So I have to go back.
I'll test you right here. So you're playing Trevor or Caleb Williams?
I don't want to answer that question.
Hit it right on the spot.
I am
the choice of two evils.
I'm playing Trevor. At least one of them's throwing a touchdown pass.
Okay, there we go. What about Trevor or Matt Stafford?
Trevor, because at least he has an offensive line.
And then I know you have Brock ahead of him. You said you had Cousins ahead of him. Sam Darnold?
Yes, I'd play Darnold over Lawrence.
Okay, I have him added as well too.
Yep.
And then Herbert I have behind him.
Herbert's interesting. If he plays, I would play Herbert over. I would play him, but Herbert's I think he's going to be a game time decision.
Okay,
that's how I read into that situation right now with the news that's come out about Herbert this week. It screams game time decision.
Right, and with Trevor playing on Monday, if Herbert is active, you're playing Herbert over Lawrence before that Monday night game?
Yes.
Even hobbled?
Yes.
All right. Hey, there it is. Good stuff. All right. So enough on T-Law. Let's get to his pass catchers. Christian Kirk, who has usually been his favorite target. No targets basically going on over there. Maybe they need to get that fixed. Kirk had a couple drops, but I'm still not quite giving up on him yet. I mean, we've seen what's happened there, so I'm a little more bullish, I think, than you are on him. But I know we both love some Brian Thomas Jr. So where do you kind of have him ranked? Do you see him as a start this week, or are you just not believing enough in Trevor to get BTJ in your lineups?
I mean, I understand the appeal. I know a lot of people want to play BTJ. He had the good week 1. I mean, Buffalo's defense isn't great. We know the situation that's happened so far over the offseason with the pieces that they have lost. I'm just out this week. It's a Monday night game. You all know how Monday night games go. You're hoping and praying, I need 6 points, I need 7 points. And look, Christian Kirk got 7 targets. He's caught 2 of them. He has scored a total of 3.9 in a half PPR format. So I don't want to go there. I really don't want to go into BTJ this week just because I don't believe in Trevor on the road in Buffalo. It's just been putrid, abysmal, horrific. I mean, how many more adjectives do you know? And it's not good football right now.
Yeah, it is a little tough over there. There's a couple spots where I'm finding him, to be a flex play for me. But I have him down kind of in that, wide receiver 30-ish range. I think off the top of my head, but I know there's just a couple spots where I'm like, I'll just go with the potential upside here, going up against the Bills. If they put up points, maybe it'll be a negative game script, and someone has to catch the ball, right? And why not the big play guy if maybe the Bills lax a little bit and let him get a big one. So, or if they do happen to get close, he is that kind of big red zone target as well, especially without Ingram, which it looks like most likely he's out. He's listed as questionable with that hamstring still. That he got in pregame warmups last week. So, so that's kind of where I'm at.
I want to read you my rankings really quickly. You ready?
All right.
BTJ, wide receiver 34. Christian Kirk, wide receiver 35. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver 36.
Oh, that's hilarious. This game, right?
All the guys in this game are just kind of like, I had such a hard time this week in my rankings. Like, how do I separate these guys? And the truth is I have them as wide receiver. Yeah, I have them as wide receiver 3s, but like the bare end of wide receiver 3, which is basically how I do my rankings, is saying like, I can see way more ways that this fails for them than the ways it goes. It only goes right in case of a touchdown. That's how it goes right. Is someone's got to either get incredible volume, which they're not going to get, or they've got to score. Right.
See, again, I'm a little more bullish. Again, maybe it's just because of my personal shares of BTJ. I have him as 31 actually, so a little even more bullish than what I thought in my head. But I have Shakir at 36, Christian Kirk at 37 right behind. I'm right there in that kind of glob with you as well. There we go about Shakir. But what about Coleman? Where do you have Coleman? I mean, I know you and I were big on him coming into the season. Had a decent week 1. Of course, we got a little excited, threw him in our lineups, got that goose egg last week. Do you think he has a bounce back week here?
I think he can. I'm not starting him. The goose really upset me. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It really hurt. And it wasn't just the goose. It was the one target. And I can understand not scoring because James Cook monopolized all the touchdowns. Because Josh Allen had a terrible week too from a fantasy perspective. And that's fine. He just didn't score because Cook did everything. And that game was so out of hand that there was no way that Coleman needed to get anything and Allen to throw the ball. But when the game was still in the balance before the concussion, one target, like, that's just me looking at the game script and going, okay, I understand it, but why wasn't there any play? Like, why weren't you involved? So I don't want to go there this week as much as I like Coleman and I love him in Dynasty, and I still think it's going to be a good season for him as Josh Allen's potential top guy. I put it this way. I think it's a get right spot for him against the Jags, and we can have this conversation next week, but I just don't trust it. One target and no points is hard to overcome.
Yeah, hard to overlook for sure. That had him drop all the way down in the 40s for me. I think I have him for about 46. Having behind guys like Ladd McConkey, Odunze, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Cooks. But I kind of have him ahead of like Tyler Lockett, Romeo Doubs, Darnell Mooney, the aforementioned Michael Wilson. Just because if he does get it right, man, like he has that big playability and that upside is potentially there. So again, you definitely want to see a volume. Again, we're dealing with such small sample sizes right now. Like we need still 2 or 3 more games to kind of really start to get a feel for these things. But
I have 46 as well, right behind Jacoby Myers and ahead of Yoshi Voss.
There you go. So what about Kincaid, man? What are we doing with Kincaid in this one?
I'm starting him. I think this is a good week for him. Again, I don't think that James Cook gets 3 rushing touchdowns. We know Josh Allen is the goal line back. We expect him to probably bounce back and have a better, more traditional Josh Allen-like week. But I think this is a get right spot for Kincaid. I'm not really in love with the pass catchers in this game on either side of the ball. Evan Ingram's obviously not playing, or at least we don't believe he's going to play on the Jaguars side. So I think this is a good week for Kincaid, and I think this is a week where I think he can score. I think this is a touchdown week for Kincaid.
For sure. And he's definitely trending a little more forward, obviously, getting those 4 catches on 4 targets, only 33 yards. But I think there's still better days ahead for Kincaid. So again, must starts Etienne, Allen, and Cook. I'm sitting Gabe Davis, Strange, and Curtis Samuel in this one. So any disagreements there, or are you ready to move on?
Let's finish it up.
Let's do it, man. Before we do, we have another little super chat here, so we appreciate it. We have Marvolo, the Wiz. He says Mason and Neighbors or Barkley and Moore. I assume that's DJ Moore. 14 team, 1 QB. Which side do you want?
This one's really difficult for me because I saw this question earlier. I was kind of looking at it. I'm going to go the Barkley Moore side for the simple reason that Barkley has the higher ceiling than Mason in the offense and the usage. And I think it's been ugly for the Bears, but it's also Daniel Jones. So the question that I'm going to have is, is Neighbors' week that he had last week indicative of his future performances, or did they just play the red? Well, sorry, I almost said the red word. Can't say it. The Commanders. I almost said the other team name. I was like, I can't say that anymore.
Yeah. We might have got shut down.
Yeah. Did they just play Washington? Right. So like, to me, I think it's stinky for DJ Moore right now. It smells like poop. It is poop, but there's brighter days ahead. So I'll take the Barkley Moore side.
Same. Does it change just for the sake? Yeah, I mean, everything you just said hit the nail on the head. I just like the fact that you're getting 2 long-term choices with that. Like you're turning Mason into somebody that you can use for the entire year, where he could be there for the entire year, but obviously if CMC comes back, he's most likely going to be irrelevant or definitely not have the weekly performances that we're used to right now. So for that alone, I'll take Barkley and Moore just because it gives you that asset. He says, I don't know if you saw this, but a little follow-up. He says he has Hurts and Burrow, Daniels, McBride, Bijan, JT, Swift, and Braylon Allen, Garrett Wilson, Puka, Brooks. He's been trying to ship Daniels, but can't get anyone to buy any advice. Just keep Daniels and ship one of those other quarterbacks because you can probably move one of them, especially in a 14 team, I'm sure. You can get rid of, I'd probably try to move on Burrow and just maybe keep Hurts and Daniels kind of the rushing quarterbacks, especially if it's a 4 point passing touchdown league, and just try to off Burrow, especially if after this game might be a best time to do that after playing against Washington. Him and Chase should go off. So maybe you can find that Chase owner and, flip him Burrow and maybe upgrade some of your wide receivers there. But your running back room is going to be solid with Bijan, JT, and Saquon. Jesus,
that's you have to play one of those guys in the flex. You can't sit one of them. You have to play.
He's now your flex. Yeah, and then at least you might have the ability with that little bit of depth there. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it. I'd just keep them because Swift isn't the greatest RB4, but again, as an RB4, not too bad, I guess you'd say. Then you also just have that asset in Saquon or JT maybe to go ahead and flip for a nice wide receiver too to pair up with Wilson, and maybe even get a nice package for that as well too, and get maybe 2 wide receivers or a lesser tier running back plus a wide receiver too with that as well. So again, we appreciate the super chat. Hopefully that we got you a good answer. Coolerhead said appreciate it. So we appreciate you, man, for that super chat. And we will move on here to our last game, and then we'll get into that Q&A section. So there we go. He says, thank you guys. He's 2-0 in his league, hoping to continue the dominance. So there you go. And building a squad like that. And that's the thing. You have a nice squad. Don't rest on your laurels. Keep seeking these trades out and just keep sacking your team and getting it better, man. Because 1 week could change a lot of stuff. So just keep piling those assets up, man, when you can. So good stuff there. And like Phil did here, he dropped the link to the extra point. Make sure you guys go through, Phil, subscribe. I know I put a poll up there that asks if you guys are subscribed to all 4 of our channels. The links are down in the description. So make sure you go throw this guy sub for his time and answering your questions here as well and going through these games. All right, so let's get to our last game here. And again, this is 2 Monday Night Football games. I didn't mention that before we got into both these things. So we have and I hate when they do it where they're playing basically at the same time. Like, I don't understand the whole point of doing that, right? Yeah, so it's kind of stupid.
Did you see there's 2 Monday Night games next week too?
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
usually only do it for a week, and it's usually only on like the very first week that they do it. So yeah, that's strange.
Dumbass Brazil game. So thanks for that.
Oh yeah, the Friday game too. Yeah, that was all weird. So I think someone else was saying something about the Brazil game up at the top too. So anyway, we'll reset it here, man. We have Commanders at the Bengals. The Bengals are coming in favored by 7.5 in this one with a 47-point over/under. I think it might be more so on the Bengals side. But we'll see. This should be a very interesting game, a get right game for guys like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Chase is already talking about he has some kind of dance prepared. That's not the gritty if he scores this week. So might be putting the cart in front of the horse just a smidge here. Let's just have a good game here first. But it is Washington, man. So if anyone could do it against Washington, it's going to be these two, hopefully getting their rhythm back and just hopefully set their season off for us Burrow Chase owners out there. But we're starting Chase. We're starting Burrow. I have B-Rob as a must start for me. I'm just real in on him this year. We talked about T. Higgins dealing with that hamstring injury. So let's start there. If T. Higgins plays coming off this hammy, are you finding a way to get him in this lineup with against this Washington defense?
I understand the appeal. I understand the name value, and I understand who you're playing against. The reality is it's a hamstring injury. I think they're going to ease him back in. They're probably going to treat it like a preseason game. I haven't heard anyone come out and say that it's going to be a pitch count. But for those that don't know, I was a 2-sport college athlete, and I went on to coach after I finished my playing career. So from an injury, and that's not a brag. That's to set up my point here, which is
I would brag about that. That's worth bragging about. I'll brag for you. Hey, my guy right here. Like, this is who we're bringing to get right for you guys. Like, here we go.
from a health perspective, the hamstring is. I mean, you guys know, having watched and seen football all your lives, it just is such a nagging injury. So I can see them, especially in this game, if it gets away from the Commanders, and I do expect the Bengals to run away with this a little bit. I just don't think you're going to get the return on investment that you're going to get next week, the week after, and future weeks with T. Higgins. So I'm not going to start him this week, even if the news is still positive. And it's a Monday night game. I'd rather have someone on. Give me JSN. You know what I mean? Give me a guy that I know is going to play that has a chance at a blow up week and a touchdown.
Yeah, I have him down as like my wide receiver 43 right now. Like I'd play him ahead of Keon Coleman, right? Like I'd take my chances with him in Washington and just hope maybe he gets in the end zone, over someone like Coleman. But it's real close at that point, like you said. Just and of all the people, Higgins is notorious for coming in thinking he's ready to go and then just not. I'm just done, and then just doesn't finish the game. So he's notorious for that. He did that to fantasy owners so many times. So you have to still be a little wary of that. But yeah, I mean, you'd like to just see him have that get right game, have him look good, and then just feel comfortable starting him, moving forward. And I have quite a bit of shares, of Higgins this year. Like you said, you and I have been pretty high on him as well too. I think that upside's there, obviously in that franchise tag, season. So he is going to be playing for a contract. So he wants to put good film out there. So, at the same time, I think if he does go, he's at least healthy enough. But again, like you said, it's his preseason. He hasn't been able to play, hasn't been able to do anything. So, I definitely expect some sort of pitch count there. But that's not always bad. They're usually good of, maybe they just won't have him in on, running plays and, but I'm sure he'll be in there if they're in the red zone and stuff like that.
I mean,
so.
I know this is a fantasy show, but at some point we have to talk about real football for just 10 seconds. The Bengals have to win this game or their season's over.
Yeah.
Like their season is done. So I think it's actually the reason I bring that up is I actually think it's more of a reason not to play Higgins.
Oh.
I think they lean super heavy on Jamar Chase. I think Mike Gesicki, you asked me earlier about sneaky starts. I know he's a sit, but in DFS, I think you could go there if you play the full slate. I know most people only play the main slate. This is a Monday night game. But I think this is potentially the Bengals season. And if they lose it, it might be Zach Taylor's job.
Could be
not this week.
Right. Yeah. Not on the chop block,
but I think
yeah,
this could be one of those like tick marks if they lose it as to why he gets fired at the end of the year. You cannot start 0-3, not with this roster,
and especially not against the Commanders.
The Commanders at home, where they've already lost to the Patriots at home.
Right. You can't do that again. That's hot seat status there. Yeah. So for sure. So what are we thinking about other guys here? Yoshiva. Are we getting him in your lineup this week? Jermaine Burton, like anybody like that? Seems like we might have a Bengals fan in here. Yoshiva's the guy. Two red zone targets last week, 2 touchdowns, 2 tutties.
It's the consistency piece for me. So I think it's great DFS plays. I think if you want to take some prop bets on the the over unders, the higher lowers, then go for it. But in managed leagues, nope. The only players I want on the Bengals are Jamar. I want the stars. I want Chase. I want Burrow. I don't want Zach Moss. The inefficiency for me has just been brutal. And it's not just the inefficiency. It's the lack of touches. 9 at rushing attempts in week 1, 12 in week 2. I can't
0-2. You can't run the ball if you're playing from behind,
And so to me, it's like, I get it. They should be up in this game. So that maybe makes the case. But then again, it's like, is it going to be all Moss? Is it going to be Moss and Brown? I don't want Zach Moss in my lineup this week if I can avoid it. I have him down. Give me a second to switch off the QB rankings here. I have him. I'm still scrolling.
That was our that just reminded me. So like year 1, man, when we were doing our start sit shows and when we did exactly what you just said right there, we just made that sound effect of zzz, which is that scrolly ball. That just tells you where we had him ranked if we made that noise. So way to bring that back. Shout out to Dustin, man. That was him that did that. We were cracking up when we first did that. It happened live. It was good stuff. So that made me.
I have an RB 26, but I have him in there. RB 27. I just moved Najee up, but I have him with names that you don't. Zamir White, DeAndre Swift, Austin Eckler, Chuba, Elliott. You don't want to play those guys, so he's in that tier of guys this week that I don't want to play.
Yeah, I have him at 23, but again, it's because it's Washington. I probably normally would have had like Ford ahead of him. Maybe Najee. Just I'm not a big Pittsburgh guy either way. No. But yeah, so there's Singletary, Chuba, like Zeke. I couldn't really get anyone ahead of Moss. At that point, again, going up against Washington, if they do get close, if Chase is down at the 1, like it's probably Moss. Getting in the end zone there.
Sure.
Or maybe if they finally just blow him out, maybe he gets some good run late in the game and see those touches increase. That we expect around that 15 carry mark. So good stuff there. Let's go over the other side of the ball. Talked a lot of Bengals. Let's talk some Commanders. Jane Daniels, where do you have him?
He's got to throw a touchdown at some point, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't he? Like, he
His
can't go the
rushing
whole-
floor, though, man, he's been. I mean, he finished
so-
QB5 like without throwing a touchdown. So,
and
like,
that's so that's the key for me. So I have him ranked right now at QB 14.
I have him at 8. Yeah. Hey,
I'm pretty.
Bengals defense hasn't looked good, and they got a lot of injuries, man.
So that's what I was going to say is I have him at 14, but the rushing upside is the reason why I could easily see myself moving him up. The challenge for me is he hasn't thrown a touchdown. The passing volume's not really been there, and if the Bengals take away the rushing, you're getting a absolute floor game. So I can see it. I get it. I love Jane Daniels. I have him in all over Dynasty, right? I have him in one of my redraft leagues as my QB2. I'm sitting him, but I think the caveat is he's got to run, and if they're losing, I think he's gonna run. So he can get there, but I think the game script needs to go the way that we expect it to for him to get there, and if it doesn't. It's going to be another stinky week. You're going to be disappointed.
Going to be tough. Now, if Washington is playing from behind, Eckler's look pretty decent. I mean, he's looking a little more explosive. Kind of has that third down role. It still hasn't deterred me from Robinson because I think they can definitely coexist there as the better talents just on the team in general behind Scary Terry, who we'll talk about here next.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Eckler? Is he a sneaky little play here?
I think he's an interesting flex play. I wouldn't start him in one of my 2 running back spots, but you mentioned it, right? If the game's behind, he is the better of the 2 pass catchers. He hasn't been super involved. I thought he'd be a little bit more. And I think he had the big catch last week that maybe was negated by penalty or he dropped something. I was at the bar. I had 12 screens going with all the games so, and no sound. They've got the country music blasting. So kind of having to tell the Raiders fans to shut up so I can watch the games.
You tell them.
I did. Yeah. Well, I might get a beer thrown at my head or worse.
Yeah.
But Eckler is an interesting flex play this week. And then as I think about, passing volume and a negative game script, I do think that makes Terry interesting this week. He's still seeing targets. He got 8 targets again last week. They played the Giants, not a great team, but you're right. The Bengals haven't looked good. Their defense hasn't been super solid. I don't know that the Bengals will. It's 7.5. I don't think they cover. I think they win this game. They should win it easily. But I do think there is some potential garbage time goodness in there for Scary Terry.
Very nice. Yeah, and that'll lead us right into Terry. So you think they finally open up the offense and let Jaden Daniels do what he kind of did best, is throw that deep ball? Like, we haven't quite seen that yet, and it's screaming for Terry, and this could be potentially the matchup with it. I mean, you got Cam Taylor-Britt back. I mean, they got an okay, decent secondary, but can you find a way to get Scary Terry in your lineups, or has he never left?
I mean, I don't think he's left. You drafted him to be probably your wide receiver 2, maybe your wide receiver 3 if you went wide receiver heavy. So I think you're good there. Cam Taylor-Britt's probably only making one-handed interception in his career, so I don't think that's happening. I'll tell you what, man.
It was a nice catch, though.
Watching that game live last weekend, I was like, "Holy shit, that may be one of the best catches I've ever seen."
Yeah,
and he's not even an offensive guy, so it was unreal, the one-handed pick. But again, I think you can get Terry in there, and I think at some point you got to let Cliff cook up some stuff for these guys. Otherwise, you're just the defense keeping everything in front of them, and you're not winning games. So,
man, his 1.1 offense is just brutal, man. Brutal. Let's get some air into the ball here. So I have Scary Terry as my wide receiver 33. So I have him as wide receiver 3 or flex in your 2 wide receiver leagues. Just going back to Eckler, man. I mean, double-digit points in 2 games. Playing barely 50% of the snaps. But just having that, passing upside 3 for 47 on the receiving end, 8 carries for 38 is pretty decent as well as 4.75 a carry.
Yeah.
He averaged, only 2 carries, but for 10 yards last week, that was 5 yards per carry. So maybe that explosiveness is still there a bit, and if they can keep him healthy.
Where'd you have Terry?
33.
I have him at 33, right above
That's
that.
hilarious.
Right above that Jacksonville Buffalo stack that I read.
Oh, okay.
Don't play these guys. I was like, Terry can be better than these plays. So I have him right there in that,
literally. So I have Diggs at 34, Shakir 35, Kirk at 36, and I moved Watson up to 37. I can't play Deontay Johnson over Christian Watson just with his upside. So I made that move actually during the show. So my other rank might not match up back to that when I mentioned it earlier. So anyway, all right. So who else we got in this game? I mean, I'm sitting Ertz, I'm sitting De'Ami Brown, McCaffrey, Chase Brown, who was mentioned in the chat here, saying he's due. He is, but he's on my bench right now. Well, he'll be due on my bench, and then see what happens here. If Moss doesn't, get his, what together, maybe we will see the Chase Brown show here. So I'm still holding on to him. Yeah. I'm still sitting Oshiva, Burton, and Gesicki is a little banged up, so keep your eye on that as well too. If he is, and so maybe Eric All might be one of those interesting, plays as well too. With no Gesicki, so keep an eye out for that as well, because I think he had like 4 or 5 targets last game as well too. We mentioned him on our waiver wire show on Monday.
Tony Romo just get Eric All, man. I felt like they needed to go have a bromance hug afterwards.
He was getting mushy on him, huh?
Oh, he was getting real Tony Romo. So
okay.
Tony Romo.
Tony. All right.
Tell you what, Jim, this player, Eric All, man, Jim, you're going to watch Eric All. Okay, Tony, we get it.
All right, Eric All, man, we get it. No, that's good stuff, man. All right, so here's the part that you guys are all waiting for, man. That wraps up, again, our 8 games that we covered here. So, again, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I have, it looks like, probably over 20 questions here that are starred and ready to go. Again, a couple of them that were supers we've got to already, but we will get to this Q&A session, man, and bang these things out. So you ready? We'll try to rapid fire these things. I'm sure we'll get derailed a little bit, but we'll try to get through them here as quickly as we can for you guys. So again, we appreciate it. Of course, the super chats that came in, and let's get to this live Q&A section. So we have Willie Do. He says he had Tua. His backs are Hall, Mason, Steele, Algier, Braylon Allen, Aaron Jones. He said, should I trade Rashad and Bucky for AR5 and Bigsby, or just grab Fields and Geno off the waiver?
I would. Sorry, is this single quarterback? I didn't see that in the question.
Willie, if you're still here watching us, man, let us know if it is single.
I assume it is.
Answer it just both ways. What would you do in both situations? I assume, though, actually, now that you say that, I mean, if Fields and Geno are on the waiver wire, I don't know what super flex league you're playing with that have these guys on the wire.
Well, that's why I said I assume it's.
Yeah, so I assume it has to be a 1 QB.
I would take the ceiling shot with Richardson, to be fair. I mean, that's how I know Kendall's here. That's an easy one for him. Bigsby's interesting, right? I know we got a lot of questions to get through. I just want to say this really quickly. Bigsby's interesting because he was so heavily involved in week 1, and then he kind of fizzled out a little bit last week. So like that part's not that interesting. But Geno or Fields off the waiver wire, Geno's going to be, like I said earlier, 15 to 18 points is probably his ceiling. If you get it, great. Fields could be the start of the rest of the season. He could be out next week. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know.
Right.
So I would take this. I'm looking at this as best player available, highest ceiling performance. I'm going to take Richardson in this case.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, you have some depth there. Obviously, you can still start Mason for a few more weeks. Brees isn't going anywhere as long as Jones, stays healthy. You should be good there. And then again,
Braylon Allen's got a roll.
Yeah.
He's carving a rollout for himself.
I mean, you'd hate to have,
again last night.
It's one of those situations where you hate having Ashley Brees. I mean, he has Brees and Allen, so it'd be tough to, have to start both of them if it gets down to that. But at the same time, if it does come down to that, it's not the end of the world. And you're just hoping AR-15, because of his ceiling, is going to make up that point differential that maybe you're losing with some running back depth if you do suffer an injury later and have to start, a tier down type running back. So I personally would do it and shoot for that upside, and take that big swing, since you're missing Tua. So again, we appreciate the chat. I appreciate you coming by. Hopefully hit that like and subscribe button for us as well too. And we'll be back here Sunday morning as well. And then of course, check out our other shows throughout the week. All right. So we have Colin Sharp here saying bench 2, MHJ, Ayuk, Rice, and Neighbors. Wow, that's a tough choice, my guy.
I saw this question earlier, and this question, first of all, it's an awesome question, but it sucks.
Yeah, I've been dreading it. Yeah, I've been dreading it. So, I mean, for me, I'll go first. Maybe let you. I have to start MHJ. I have to bench Neighbors out of the 2.
Mm-hmm.
So then it comes down to Rice and Ayuk. Obviously, I'm not that high on Purdy this week, but he has all the volume. But there's no way I can get rid of Rice with no Pacheco at this point either. So I think I'm going to go MHJ and Rice and just go with the guys that are in top scoring offenses attached to the top quarterbacks right now. and in our games that are expected, kind of shootouts. So give me MHJ and Rice, and then I'd have to start Ayuk at Neighbors, but that's hard to say.
I see it the exact same way. If the Rams, I was thinking about Matt Stafford. If the Rams were a little healthier, I could potentially make the case for Ayuk over Rice, but I just don't see, if the Niners score and get up, I don't see a world where the Rams can come back. So I'm with you, MHJ and Rice.
There we go. All right, good stuff. We have Nino in the house. What's up, Nino? He's saying he got offered his Gibbs and Ken Walker with Charbonnet and DK for his Jamar. Oh, did we already?
Yeah, we took the Chase Monty B-Rob side because there was too many.
Oh, I think he supered it after, right? Okay, and then he gave us our team and stuff like that. Okay, good stuff. Like I said, I was starring stuff as they came in, so we'll move on. That helps. So Ray in the house. What's up, Ray? I saw your what's up there, man. How you doing, my guy? He says Waddle or Worthy in full PPR. Ooh, well, test your Worthy ranking here.
Clearly, I've been such a big Worthy supporter all season. No, I'm joking. I'm going Worthy because I just no Tua, the game script on the road at Seattle. Again, we talk about Kansas City at home. No Pacheco. Give me Xavier Worthy this week. I think there's manufactured touches, and I think he finds the end zone.
There it is, man. There it is. Yeah, and I'm kind of do I have it ranked that way? I'm like, let me check the ranking because I think actually, I have Worthy at 21 and Waddle at 26, so I'll go Worthy there as well for that upside. So yeah, there we go. We got Dub Nation in the house saying he needs one. Zach Moss, George Pickens, Brian Thomas Jr., Waddle or Deontay Johnson or Jerome Ford and full PPR. So I assume it's probably the flex spot. Who are you flexing out of this group here? It's a nice group problems to have here.
You guys, I was going to say that's a deep bench there. Who do the Steelers have this week? The Chargers with potentially no Justin Herbert. I think I take Pickens here. I know the appeal of Waddle, the name value, but we just talked about it. No quarterback, even though Justin Fields is kind of no quarterback. But Deontay Johnson's off my board with not Sam Darnold. Who the hell's the quarterback there? Dalton. Sorry, my brain went blank there for a second. I would take Pickens here. I would take Pickens because, again, he is capable of that big play, and hopefully he catches a 93-yard touchdown, and that wins you the week.
And it's not like we haven't even seen it from Justin Fields yet. It's just been taken back on penalties. Like, had we had those calls not be taken back, Fields is looking a lot better, and so is Pickens. And he was getting some nice separation against one of the best cornerbacks in the league in Pat Surtain. So I liked what I saw there. So interestingly enough, I actually have Pickens as my highest rated guy here as well. Just 2 spots ahead of Waddle. So I have Pickens as my wide receiver 24 and Waddle at 26. And then those running backs and other, wide receivers are well behind that. So, so good stuff.
I have Pickens at 23, 1 spot behind Worthy.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I have Worthy at 21. Yeah, so we're all right in there. So Dub Nation asked another question. He said J.K. Dobbins or Travis Etienne? Full PPR.
Yeah. I think it's ETN. I think you chalk it up to I know I've been so down on the Jaguars, but it's more of a Trevor Lawrence thing than an ETN thing. Dobbins, you can stay. I understand the case. You can stay in the flames, but look, it's Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin dials it up, right? TJ Watt.
TJ Watt's an animal. Yeah.
TJ Watt's an animal. And you know what? To be fair, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins has scored the touchdowns. He's had better yardage, but Gus Edwards has had decent usage. It's not like he's sitting on the sideline getting Gatorade. So he's still involved in the game. So if the touchdown doesn't go Dobbins' way this week and it does, see that Gus falls in the end zone, give me Etienne in this one.
There you go. I'm taking Etienne as well. I hate that we keep agreeing on everything here, but that's also, it's kind of good for the viewers though. At least they're getting a solid, at least our take is matching. It sucks when we kind of each go one side. Yeah, if we're each on one side, then it's kind of like, well, we didn't really help at all there, I guess. So, so good stuff. Marvelo, he asked, I think another question. Maybe did we answer this? No. But he did send us a super chat later on. So this might have been a question he asked earlier. He says, start 3 in a 10-team dynasty superflex. Add a JMO. I assume that's Dobbins, Charbonnet, Kelsey, Rashad, or Andre Yosheva. I assume that's who that is. Yeah, so who are you taking? He needs 3 out of these guys.
2 of these are really easy for me. I'm taking Jameson Williams, full PPR. Obviously, we love the usage. We love where he's been at so far in the first 2 weeks, and we love that game. No matter how it goes, we think it's a shootout regardless of who wins. Charbonnet's the starter again this week. Miami's defense isn't great, so I'm still going to play him. I don't love a running back in my flex spot, but again, because he's the guy and should get the goal line work. Geno doesn't run. Give me
And he's a
Sharp.
pass catching
Yeah,
back,
he can.
so
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So there's a little bit more appeal. I'm
The third one's
tempted-
I'm with you on those two. So yeah,
the
so this
third
is where
one's
it's going to be
hard.
interesting.
I'm tempted to say Kelsey because of no Pacheco. I think this could be a good Kelsey week at home again. He could find the end zone at some point. Kelsey's going to get right. He's going to get himself a proper Kelsey game. I think it could be this week. So I'll take the shot on Kelsey over Rashad White.
Yeah, that's where I'm still trying to decide here too. White is banged up, kind of dealing with that groin that could potentially flare up at any moment. I have him as my RB16 still though, just because of that pass catching upside going against this Denver defense, which isn't great. And definitely susceptible to the running back position. So I'm kind of torn between Rashad. I can't just flex a tight end just for whatever reason. And especially, we haven't seen Kelsey still quite do much. But we know what he is capable of. So for me, it's between Rashad and Dobbins. And I just think the difference there is the defense they're going against. I do have, again, like I said, Rashad at 16 and J.K. Dobbins at 21. So I'll go Rashad White here. So
do we want to water bet highest point total in full PPR, Kelsey, White, and Dobbins this week?
Kelsey White. I mean, I'm down. Yeah, let's do it. If we remember, let's try to keep track of that.
I'll text you.
All right, yeah, text me after that.
I'll take Kelsey this week. I'll ride with my take there.
I'll take shot over Kelsey. Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Is barring it, like if he goes down with the groin though.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and there's no Pacheco. I like the Chiefs.
I like it. Yeah.
I like the Chiefs pass catchers this week.
Good stuff. All right, so we'll move on here. We have the Zombie King saying, "Please help." He has ETN, Ford, or Team One is ETN and Ford, or Brian Robinson Jr. So out of those two, which side of that? I assume a trade. Which side do you like there? ETN and Ford, or Brian Robinson? Or no, ETN, Ford, or maybe he's needing us to start one.
Yeah,
on that team.
A trade, I think is.
Let's just rank those guys for him. Let's rank ETN, Ford, and Brian Robinson Jr.
All right. Well, let me just pull up the old handy rankings here and
there we
see
go.
what I got.
I'll do it first since mine are up. I have Brian Robinson Jr. For whatever reason, man. I'm just feeling this B-Rob, man. Actually, no, I can't have Mason behind him. So let me move Mason up. So B-Rob's going to be my RB11. Travis Etienne is my RB12. And then that's going to leave Ford, who I'm a little off this week, especially with that usage with Devontae Foreman. I didn't like that quite as much. I have him down as my RB24. So that's my rankings there. Where do you have those three?
I have Travis Etienne at RB13. I have Brian Robinson Jr. at RB15. And I have Jerome Ford at RB23.
There you go. Good stuff. Let's see. And then he says for his other team, he has Akers, Javonte Williams, or Devonta Foreman. So rank those guys for me. And then obviously Akers with no Joe Mixon this week.
We didn't talk about the Houston game. I know the other guys
we didn't get this game.
So I do want to say this really quickly for those that are still tuned in. Go play Cam Akers in a tournament this week in a DFS lineup because I know he's going to project really popular because everyone's going to get basically the free square, but it's $4,700. So just take the free square that everyone else is going to take. Because if it's wrong, everyone's going to be wrong. If it's right, everyone's going to be right. But if you can get a little different and go pay up for Amon-Ra or go pay up for Marv and stack him with Kyler in one of those games that we expect to pop off, then if Akers falls in the end zone, you're in a great spot, assuming those other guys hit. And we do expect those other guys to hit. So I'm a big fan of taking the free square and paying up for the higher ceiling plays in DFS this week. But for the rankings perspective, I have it Javonte, and then I have it Akers because of the start, and then Devonta Foreman because he's just not been terribly involved.
Yeah, I'm out on Javonte, but I'll go Akers, Javonte Foreman is how I'd have those guys ranked. So no big time explanation behind it. Those are kind of bottom type guys. So, but that's just kind of the order I have.
Yeah, I also want to say this for managed leagues for people that are, I saw Cam Akers get picked up off the waiver wire for way too much fab this week. I think CJ Stroud chucks it.
Yeah.
I think this is a Collins. Tank Dell's got to get right at some point. This could be his week. Steph Diggs had 2 touchdowns in the first week, didn't do much last week. I think this is a CJ Stroud throw the ball a shit ton this week.
That would be nice. That would be nice. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah.
So we got Joe Ortiz. What's up, Joe, man? How's it going? He says, okay, all JMO. He says, okay, all JMO for Smith and Dynasty full PPR, and he would be getting Smith. So are you trading Jamison Williams away for Devonta Smith?
100%.
Yeah. All right.
100%.
As much as we like JMO, hey,
that's
give me the Slim Reaper all day there. Give me that Slim Reaper. Especially right now too with AJ Brown hurt and out for multiple weeks. So yeah, but I mean JMO's nice, but
take the guy on the contract with
good.
the quarterback that's on the contract versus the guy that has done it for 2 weeks and spent most of his career on the sidelines. So
suspended at that too. And
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Although got reduced. So either way. But yeah, good stuff there. Go get D Smith. I like that trade. All right. So you go ahead and read it, man. I'm sure they're done hearing me talking. Go ahead.
Any moves you'd make for this squad? So we got 10 team PPR, 3 wide receivers, single flex. Josh Allen at the quarterback spot, KW3, Jordan Mason, Chase, I assume is Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Travis Kelce, and then it looks like we've got Chris Godwin in our flex spot with Samaje Perine, Monty, BTJ, Ridley, and Ferguson. Any moves you make for its squad 10 team PPR 3? I'm assuming this is a redraft team.
Yeah, I would say redraft.
Yeah,
based on how it was based on the players, how he drafted, he went probably Jamar Chase, Olave.
Yeah,
on the turn.
I was just thinking that because Josh Allen
traded. Yeah, he got Garrett Wilson as well.
Maybe this is dynasty.
Maybe he already made a trade.
Yeah, possible. So let's do it really quickly from a dynasty perspective, just because we haven't done anything like that. Y'all are gonna hate this answer. Everyone's gonna hate this answer. I'm gonna get roasted for this. I'm trading Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave away.
That's not
I'm upgrading them right now. I don't like where they're at, and I don't like what their trends are from a dynasty perspective. Aaron Rodgers, if he's the quarterback next year, is the last year he's the quarterback. If Derek Carr is the quarterback for New Orleans next season, it's probably the last year he's the quarterback. These are two guys. I don't want to go all day on this, but these were two guys that had been drafted in dynasty and in redraft at the 1-2 turn in just about every format, and they've never produced those kinds of numbers. And I have a hard time with that. That's something I've really struggled with in dynasty, is justification for why a player, just because the talent of Drake London's in that group as well, right? Why Brandon Ayuk, until he signed the contract, was in that group, because had he gone to Pittsburgh, he would have dropped significantly in my rankings. So to me, those are guys that you're drafting at their ceiling that have never produced at their ceiling. So those are the guys I would trade away. If this is a redraft team, congratulations, because what a redraft team. I don't think it's a redraft team. There's no way you can draft all these guys given their ADP, right?
I don't know.
But
maybe he would have had to at least do one trade already, because you're not getting Wilson, Chase, and Olave. You just can't.
Chase would have been your first rounder. Wilson and Olave went within 2 to 3. Yeah, I think it's dynasty, Austin.
Even in a 10 team. Yeah, so that's tough.
Yeah,
but
you just can't get all these guys, because Josh Allen was a second, third round pick in most redraft leagues, just because
some of them more like
pull the button on him though.
Yeah, but some people could wait on it.
In your home,
I've seen him fall.
He went early.
Yeah, I've seen him fall though. Yeah, in a couple of the more competitive leagues, he'd fall to the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, in our leagues.
But yeah, I think you're good, man. You just want to obviously wish for health. I don't think there's too much more you can do on it. You have some good guys, like you said. If it is redraft, like maybe if you want to explore Wilson and Olave, but for the most part, you expect them to still break out. Maybe look for another running back, or maybe tier up and try to get like a Saquon, or one of those anchor RBs, one of those hero type RBs. But at the same time, I'm kind of fine with Walker and Mason at this point as well too.
If it is redraft, I would trade Ridley for depth piece running back, or I would package Ridley in one of the running backs, like you said, and try and get up to a Barkley,
for sure,
or
like
JT.
Ridley and Monty or something for the Pacheco owner for his RB1 that just went down, or something like that. So
exactly,
yeah, good stuff.
Cheddarhead, sup guys, full PPR rank, Waddle, McLaurin, and BTJ. That's exactly how I have it.
I'm pretty sure I'm probably the same way. Let me get over to that. So yeah, Waddle at 26, Who was the next one? McLaurin at 33.
Yep.
And BTJ a little bit more down here. So yeah, that's the order I have as well.
I have Waddle 29, Terry 33, right ahead of BTJ 34.
Oh yeah, there's BTJ. Oh, actually, I have BTJ a little bit ahead of McLaurin.
Yeah, there you go.
So there we go. I go Waddle, BTJ, and then McLaurin. I'm just haven't been the biggest McLaurin fan. I got to see him throw it down the field a little more.
Yeah,
I've seen that at least with BTJ, which is what made
True.
King of the Hill a little bit ahead of him. So
True. Yeah.
good stuff.
All right,
go ahead.
Joe Ortiz, I just traded for Derek Carr. Should I offer Keon Coleman and a 2025 third for Shaheed? The third makes me believe this is a dynasty question. No, I can't go there in dynasty, not with Keon Coleman attached to Josh Allen, even though Shaheed is big play, boom bust. Derek Carr may not. We just said it. Derek Carr may not be there. Who knows what the hell's going to happen with the Saints? So no, I would hang on to Coleman in a dynasty situation.
Love Shaheed in redraft right now. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm with you there. Yeah. I'm betting on Coleman in the long run. Could have that.
And we didn't do the Saints game, but I'm starting Rashid Shaheed in managed redraft leagues this week. He's in my lineup. Yeah. You got to stay in the flames there. Ray
I have him
Gamer
at 27 actually, Rashid Shaheed, but I mean that's still pretty much a start. I could probably get him ahead of a couple other people actually.
I have him at 28, just behind Steph Diggs.
Oh, so we're like right there. I'm actually moved ahead of DJ Moore and Waddle actually right now.
And I have him one spot. I have him one spot ahead of Jalen Waddle. So
good stuff. All right.
Ray starting Lamar, Rice, Ayuk, Bijan, Gibbs, Kincaid, Mason, and Aubrey for sure. That wasn't a question. I think that was more of
the next part. Yeah, there's a part 2 right under.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the part 2. Should I start the Raiders defense versus the Panthers at home or the Panthers versus the Chargers? As of right now, I have the Raiders in case Herbert is questionable. I'll let you go first because I know how I lean.
So we're just asking about defenses here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any defense against the Panthers, and as long as Crosby plays, like I'm pretty much leaning Raiders there. In that situation. I just can't do that Chargers defense against the Steelers. Yeah, I can't do it. I mean, I play Steelers defense against the Chargers, but I couldn't do it the other way. So, especially with a banged up Herbert, they might be chasing points on that one. Not too many points because Pittsburgh's just all field goals. But yeah,
I'm taking the Raiders no matter whether Herbert plays or not.
Yeah, there you go. Let's move it on.
Looks like this is a 2-parter as well. So choose 2 here. Jesse Hernandez asking Pittman, Jamison Williams, JSN, or Neighbors, and doesn't give us a full or half PPR. I don't think it really matters too much in that format, but choose 2. Who do you got?
I mean, I think JMO for sure. Then it gets a little tough for me. Then I'm battling my woes here between Neighbors and JSN. Let me see. But I'm pretty sure I'm not too crazy, and I have to get Neighbors in there out of this group. I'm fading Pittman. Jason, I just want to see it a little more. Decent matchup. I still think I have to go Neighbors though. Yeah, I have Neighbors at 19 and Jameson at 15. And yeah, Jason down at 29 and Pittman's, I think, even farther.
I have JMO at 19. I have Neighbors at 21, and I have JSN at 31. And I don't know where Pittman is. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and he's dealing with that issue too right now.
He's a little banged up. So I'm also taking Jamison Williams and Neighbors based off volume in this one. Yeah.
All right, there we go. All right, let's move it on.
And looks like the last one here. Oh no, a couple more. Sorry,
a couple more. Yeah.
I had to go down. Rest of season rankings: DK Metcalf or Rashee Rice.
Oh, this tears at my heart. Like 2 of my favorite fantasy players, man. I have to go Rice though, man. I can't get away. Yeah, it's just too much, man.
Yep,
he's going to be way more consistent and still have some of the ceiling potential that DK has. But
Pacheco's out. Pacheco's out. Better quarterback. Yeah, DK will go 4 for 89 and 2 touchdowns. And that'll win you the week. But Rice can do that as well.
Yeah, I don't see Rice going less than 4 and 60 as a floor.
So this is interesting, kind of building off his last question for Daniel Caps here. Which duo is better, DK Metcalf and JT or Rice and Connor?
Now that's a little different.
That I would lean
JT and DK.
I agree. Yep, I would as well. I think you can get kind of flippy floppy on DK and Rice, who's going to have the better week each week. But I don't see a world outside of some, super spike weeks that James Conner is really going to have the higher ceiling than JT.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to rank Connor over JT any given week unless there's an injury, obviously. But
or unless the whole game is just a fourth quarter where they decide not to
Yeah.
put JT in the game, and then we'll have a different conversation.
That's it. Because we were passing. What kind of are you like? He's still a pass catching back, or is it
I
not?
might
Like,
be
they think
calling
Trey
Shane
Sermon is? I don't know, man.
I might be calling Shane Steichen and say, Coach, I have some questions. So here we go.
We need a little explanation here.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. We'll finish up strong here.
So Steve 562 tight end situation with Ingram out. This is a good one because this is a lot of people dealing with this week. Drop Blake Corum, Samaje Perine to pick up Cole Kmet and Johnny Munt, Greg Dulcich. This is the one I can't say, so I'm just going to call him Eric Sorbet, even though that's not his real name.
It happened.
It happened, and I knew. I told you pre-show.
You were trying to get away from the whole show and happened to say it. Yeah,
man.
See, I set you up for that one.
Sober, yeah, or Tucker Kraft. I'm not dropping Perine right now.
Yeah, I'll drop Corum though. I actually
I'll drop Corum. Yeah, I would probably take. I mean, if Jordan Love was playing, this would be a Tucker Kraft one, no problem. That's who.
Isn't he banged up right now too?
He's a little banged up, but I still like Johnny Munt's not useful. Greg Dulcich, like
none of these guys are, man. That's brutal. Like maybe Cole Kmet. Like honestly,
Cole
like
Kmet's
Cole
probably
Kmet, maybe like he, especially with Keenan Allen out, I think there's maybe a little chance he can see some target share.
My assumption on this question is that he doesn't have a second tight end, so he's got to get someone in to avoid the zero with Ingram. That's my assumption. And
right.
I'm probably right. So
I mean, Kmet went 4 on 5 targets without Keenan Allen last week. It was only 27 yards, but got you 8.7 points. I think you'd be happy with 8.7 points in your lineup. So
and maybe Caleb finds a way to get Kmet a touchdown. I don't know.
Right.
First one.
It is going up against Indy, who just got like torched by Malik Willis in the Packers.
Torch. Well, they got torched.
It's going to be it's going to be their easiest matchup so far. I mean, they've played Tennessee and Houston. Those are two tough defenses. So they should get a little bit of a reprieve here in Indy. So I'm rooting for the Bears this week.
Agreed. Michael Lopez, PPR league. I have Addison. I'm 0-2. Should I drop Addison to pick up Sutton or Adunze or hold tight? I know how I lean here. Where's your thoughts, Rasta?
I'm too heavily monetarily and solitarily invested in Addison. I couldn't start 0-2, and he hasn't even seen my lineup yet, and just drop him. Like, you drafted him in like the 6th round. Like, you can't drop him yet. I mean, not for Sutton, in my opinion. There's no more upside there. I think that Vikings offense has way more upside. Sam Darnold's playing, better than, I think we all thought. So that's easy for me. Odunze is a little more interesting there. We'll see what happens. This question could change maybe after this weekend if Caleb gets his what together. But again, given the quarterback play right now, I'm sticking it out with Addison.
Yeah, I wanted you to take that one. I'm less monetarily invested in Addison than you are, much less, but I can't justify Cortland Sutton with Bo Nix, and Rome Odunze's hurt right now. So as much as I love Rome and I love him in Dynasty, he's hurt. We haven't seen a ton. I think he's trending towards playing. Keenan Allen looks like
and he played last week, but still dealing with that knee.
But again, we're poo-pooing Caleb and his performance. So keep Addison and just hang tight, brother. Better days are ahead for you.
Yeah.
Last one as we finish out here. Warrior Loft says, I can't possibly start Metcalf over Hill, right? Plus Metcalf is facing Jalen Ramsey. I'm glad we get to end with this one.
That's a tough one. That's like, ooh, that's a spicy meatball there.
I think you're right. It's not that you can't possibly start him. I don't think it's as crazy as you think it is. I put it this way, Warrior. I'll reframe your question. I don't think I can make a strong enough argument as to why Metcalf has to be started over Hill. Right? We talk about this every week when Tua is the quarterback. Tua can throw a 5-yard pass and Tyreek can run the other 70.
Yeah.
Skylar Thompson
We've seen it.
Skylar Thompson can throw a 5-yard pass and Tyreek can run the other 70. So I think you start Tyreek, and I think Mike McDaniels finds ways to get Tyreek the ball and finds ways to get Achane the ball this week. And even though the Dolphins defense isn't great, Jalen Ramsey is there. He'll shadow Metcalf, and it's I think it's hard to make the case that you have to start him. I can see how you could make the case, but
Yeah.
you're playing Tyreek.
And it might be one of those easy things when you look next week and we're like, it was Skylar Thompson. Like, why do we think we could start someone like over DK who just went for like 2 touchdowns and crazy yards? But
True.
so like I can see that side of it, and I understand the question. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't get Hill any lower than my wide receiver 9 this week, just because of everything you said. Where do you actually have him ranked? I mean, because obviously he's usually like wide receiver 1 or 2, like at the worst any given week. So I think 9 is being a little cautious. Where do you have?
I have him at 11, but I have a player at 9 that you're out on this week that I'm bullish on this week. So I have
Ayuk?
I have
Evans.
I have Evans in 9. The Broncos defense, I get Pat Surtain. I get it. I really do.
He's taking out everyone.
He is, but
Pickens, DK, who they play week 1, wiped him out. Nothing. And then those guys went on to score good points in other games. So
I know
you can tell it's the matchup.
I may have to rethink my rankings, but
bro, I'm the biggest Evans fans. I'm actually starting DK over Evans in my home league, but it is a non-PPR, so
yeah,
I actually have it ranked that way too.
Well, I just moved him down 1 spot at least because I realized he was ahead of Devonta Smith, and I no, Devonta Smith's got to be ahead of him. But so now he's my wide receiver 10. But yeah, I still have Tyreek at 11. I get it. We could be coming back next week going, how the fuck did we think that? But you know what? David Njoku was a league winner with Joe Flacco. So what the hell do we know? So
right. Exactly. Good stuff. All right. So where did we leave off here? I think we had a couple new chats that I wasn't starring as we came in. And we had our boy here. Apologize. We were in a different screen. But he just left this, so it's not like we totally missed it. But Yoshimi, I think is how you say that. He dropping us a super chat here. He says he needs a RB2. Does he trade Puka and Ford? For which running back would we like to target with Puka and Ford? Like what range of RB are you looking for or would expect in that package?
It's hard to trade Puka right now on IR.
Yeah,
that's the caveat to this question. Like if Puka's healthy, you're trading Puka and Ford for Saquon Barkley.
Like maybe. I don't know about that quite high, but
well, that's true. Saquon's pretty.
Yeah,
you're trading him for.
I think that next tier. I think like after JT, like.
You think you could Derrick Henry?
Oh yeah, I think the Derrick Henry owner would do that with a healthy Puka, and if Ford gets the backfield.
But I'm saying I should have picked with a healthy Puka. Yes, I'm saying now today.
Oh yeah, depends on
this trade. That's the shitty answer to the question. Is like I'm not trading for a guy on IR.
Yeah, and I mean that's tough. It is tough. You're gonna have to find someone that's willing, kind of like me. Like I'm one of those. I buy low on injured stars, like difference makers. Like Puka, I would put kind of in that category. But the problem with that is that was okay when the rest of the team was still healthy. But since he's been hurt, everyone else got hurt too, and they're not coming back anytime soon either. So like that's why I'm kind of staying away from Puka. So I see why you're trying to trade him. So given that, if you were even quote unquote selling low on Puka, like let's say he just wants to move completely on at this point, right? Especially since he needs that RB2, given his situation, do you think he can get like a David Montgomery, Rashad White, maybe even a hurt Ken Walker at this time? Maybe J.K. Dobbins might be someone, they would be willing to, get. Like you might have to be shooting for those type of guys. There's still going to be risk. Maybe Aaron Jones. Like I think that's around the tier that you're going to get. Maybe you buy low on Ramondre right now.
Yeah, no,
coming off this game.
I don't think so. I think you're going to go back and look at this game and kind of throw it away because the Patriots were just so awful. I think you're looking at maybe a Tony Pollard. I think that's an interesting name.
Yeah,
and I say that simply because I'm looking at this question of like, what could I trade Jerome Ford for? Because here's my thing. Puka was injured in the preseason, didn't play. He was questionable all the way up to coming into camp, and then he got healthy. He played how many snaps he played, right?
Yeah, and then was gone. Came back and
he's gone again. Now he's on IR. So it's like,
okay, and then they have a bye week after his 4 games are up. So that's even one more week you're not going to get him. And then they said he may not even be ready to come back even after that.
Well,
that's the other thing that's crazy too.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this a thing that's going to potentially just ruin his season? And I think it could be a situation like Justin Jefferson last year. Didn't come
Right.
back, didn't come back, didn't come back. And then on top of it, we talked about this earlier when we previewed the Rams-Niners game. There's 3 offensive linemen missing.
Yeah.
So is Stafford, even if Puka's fully healthy, is Stafford even going to be able to hold up and get the ball out? Because I'm not putting anything past the fact that it could be whoever the hell the backup is there. It may not be Stafford. So who am I trading him for today? Tony Pollard's in that range. Charbonnet? I mean, like, but Kenneth Walker's
I
probably
wouldn't
back in
do
a
it for
week.
that.
So
Yeah,
it's like
I can't do that.
I'm just looking at guys that I'm like, who's got Devin Singletary?
Yeah. Maybe Josh Jacobs
Maybe.
you could get. Like, I would at least shoot for that high, but yeah, some of those guys are the guys you might end up having to settle with. Or you just kind of play the, waiver game and just go with like a P Ryan or a Carson Steele
Well,
or,
that's what I was going to say.
something like that, or just roll with Ford at this point. Like, I think Ford's still okay personally. We'll see a little more after this week here. But maybe your best situation right now is just to hold pat, keep Puka there. Because again, you're selling him pennies on the dollar at this point. And there's a chance that Chubb's not who he is when he comes back, and Ford might still have this, albeit maybe a split with Devonta Foreman. But, we saw what Ford was able to do last year. It's not like we don't know, they've trusted him. So, he should get the work.
I made that point all summer. Look what they did when Kareem Hunt was there and Nick Chubb was healthy. Kareem Hunt still had a role. He was still relevant. In fact, there was weeks when Kareem Hunt outscored Nick Chubb
especially in the PPR.
Backup.
Right.
Exactly. So I would hold. Yeah. I look at this question as Jerome Ford straight up in a trade, because to me, Puka's value is 0 right now in redraft.
0.
Yeah. There's just so many holes to poke in the narrative around injury, plus the offensive line, plus the timeline. It's just too thin for me.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Yasi me like. I think again that's how I'm saying it. We appreciate the super chat, man. You see me like. Oh, there we go. Okay, see that's better. See, I got to get more hip with the kids here. I'm a little too old to get up with this, man. Yeah, hey, you're on it though, man. You're on it. See, because you were coaching those kids, man. So like, you had to be it. Oh, but still, like, you were still in it. Like, I don't talk to anybody even in college. So,
ain't missing much.
Good stuff. All right, good stuff. So we do have a couple more. You down to stick with me here and just bang these last couple out that we got? All right, cool. Appreciate it, of course. Bucky Irvin, and we'll just try to go rapid fire. We don't have to give full on explanations. Of course, when you give us a super chat, we'll go in super detail. Or if you give us a follow up, maybe we'll go in a little more detail. But Bucky Irvin or Braylon Allen for a handcuff. For me, I'm taking Allen with what I've seen so far. What about you?
Braylon Allen.
There it is. Scary Terry or Akers? Answer it for this week as far as starter sit, and then also answer it for me as a trade.
As a trade, Scary Terry. As this week, probably still Scary Terry. I think Stroud's going to chuck it this week.
I think I'm Terry on both. And then when I realized the guys, it probably was not a trade question, but hey, you never know when we don't get the context. Always good to let us know what size league, if it's PPR, full PPR, is a trade, dynasty, redraft. All this stuff helps us give you better answers to your questions, guys. Steele for KC, is he worth a start this week as a possible breakout week? I'm a no on that. You're just hoping he scores a touchdown if you do have to play him, given your running back situation. What about you?
I mean, we talked about that when we previewed the Kansas City game. I want to see it for a week, but if you're desperate, throw him in your flex and hope he falls in the end zone.
Absolutely. That 4.7 speed isn't. I'm not in a rush to get him in my lineup.
He's not with 4.7 speed. He ain't in a rush to go anywhere either. So
perfect. Well said. I was hoping you were going to go with that for me. I was trying to set somebody up for that little alley-oop. All right. So we got Matt Friend in here saying it's a 10 team, one flex. He needs an RB2 with Stevenson. He's in a tough situation. So Warren, Hubbard, or Akers, who's on waivers, and if we say go Akers, he'd have to drop someone. So do you drop Parkinson's, Dowdle, Hubbard, or Spears? So where are you at, Warren, Hubbard, or Akers this week?
I would take Jalen Warren. I think that the volume's been ramping up. Najee's still the guy there, but again, that can change at any time. It's the Steelers. I would take Warren.
Yeah, I think I'm Warren too in this one. Going up against that Chargers defense, they're decent, but he could have a good game. And like you said, he is working his way back from that injury. So he has seen that increase here over the last couple weeks. So
and just remember this. I've said it once already in the show. I'll say it again really quickly, just because it's important for this question.
Mhm.
West Coast teams going all the way to the East Coast, playing that 10 a.m. game is a very difficult start time, and we don't see the teams generally perform that well. So I would take Warren against the Chargers defense, regardless of how good we think they may be.
There you go. Yeah, so I have Jalen Warren as my RB30, Tajay Spears at 35. I guess technically, actually, I had Hubbard ahead against that Las Vegas defense, but I can't do it. I'm actually going to move that right now and get
Hubbard
Warren ahead of Hubbard.
I have Hubbard 2 spots ahead of Jalen Warren as well, but only because of the fact that he is the starter. That's the only reason I have him ahead.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, this question made me change my rankings. So I appreciate it, Matt Friend.
I think I'm about to do that too. So
see, this is what we do. See, this is what we do, man. We all help each other out here, man. It's the good stuff. We got E11 in the house. What's up, man? I think he commented on my Niners hat earlier as well too. So appreciate you if you're a fellow Niner brethren, or you just respect and like the hat as well too. I always like that. But most people, they usually have to be in the Niner faithful. They don't just throw compliments around to us Niners fans. But he says it's half PPR, 12 team. Appreciate the setup there. That's what we're talking about. 3 wide receiver, 3 flex with 8 bench spots. His team or his tight ends are Ingram and Hill. I assume Taysom Hill. Does he pick up Strange or just punt the tight end and get Whittington, Tolbert, or a defense for next week? So do you try to beat the waiver wire and just roll with like Hill, or does he pick up Strange in this situation?
This question's tough. I'm not a fan of taking a 0. I would take Strange. I get it. I don't.
Is Taysom out though this week? Like,
I don't know.
Recovered.
And that's why I was just gonna go and look at it real quick and try and I got my 3 screens up here. But if Hill's active, I'm playing Hill. If he's not, I'm playing Strange because I'm not a fan of taking the 0. But Jordan Whittington, we've talked ad nauseum tonight about the Rams and the offensive line and all that stuff. So I'm not in on that. Tolbert, I'm not in on. He hasn't been involved. And then a defense for next week. I mean, whoever the hell the Panthers are playing, if you can grab that defense, sure. But like even that can go sour. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you can grab the best defense, and even if you don't, give up any points, if you don't get any sacks, if you don't get any turnovers, you're still only scoring whatever that is, 5 points or whatever for the 8 points for the
depending on your settings. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not like you're crushing it at the defensive position. So
for sure, yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that you just said. The only thing I'd want to know too is I know you have Taysom Hill. Is Juwan Johnson, out there still? Because if Taysom doesn't play, then maybe Juwan's out there. But
yeah, good call.
I would assume if he's saying Strange, that's probably the best guy available. So we have you see me like over here asking another question. He says, does he trade Jerome Ford? Oh, that was the same question, but he dropped it as a super chat. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, what do we got in the next one here? My screen's going all weird. Do you want to bring it up?
I've got the locker room here. What platform do you guys speak on? Obviously YouTube, but what app do you use to speak and record? Hey, a so it's a podcast.
Fantasy question. Yeah, there you go. Appreciate that, locker room. StreamYard is what we use, man.
Yep. StreamYard, and then I am also, you can catch me on my show, The Extra Point. I stream through StreamYard on YouTube live, obviously. But you can also listen along on Spotify and Patreon. So jump on and find the Spotify and Patreon accounts for The Extra Point and give me a follow there.
For sure. Yeah, make sure you guys are subscribing to my boy over here. Yeah, there you go. Get it in there. Get it in there. So I got another question here from Will Hayes. He says, Jalen Waddle or DJ Moore?
I got to check my rankings on this one. Give me a second. Oof.
I'm pretty sure I have Waddle ahead.
I think I
remember the whole Caleb Williams not throwing a touchdown thing.
I think I do too, but where is I have Jalen Waddle. Oh, I have Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore. So there you go.
There it is.
Oof. God, that stinks.
For me, I literally have him back to back. Actually, I have Moore ahead, going up against Indy. So yeah, but they're right there. So I see what you mean. So I think I'll go Moore. I think he has a chance maybe to score here against Indy. And I still want to see a little bit with Skyler. I'll just, Skyler could be worse than Caleb is my only thing. Like, that's not a crazy take. So that's what made the difference for me to put DJ Moore just a smidge ahead. So yeah, but they're still, down here, 26 and 27. They're still threes or wide receiver threes or flexes.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good week for either one of them.
Yeah. So we'll move on. Philly Mike OG, what's up, Philly Mike? He says he got offered Kamara for Brandon Ayuk and George Pickens. Would you take that trade, Ayuk and Pickens? For Kamara?
Probably because it's a 2-for-1, and I like the depth pieces, but Kamara.
No, he would be getting Kamara for Ayuk and Pickens. But in a vacuum, which side do you want? Yeah.
I still lean the 2 wide receiver side. I as much as Kamara is effing crushing it right now and all the things, like he's got to come back down to earth at some time. So, Jesus, 40. Oh my God, the fantasy points were unbelievable.
Yeah, I think he scored like over 50 in a couple of my leagues, on the settings.
Yeah, he's. He's RB1 on the season. So, and it's 2 weeks. Let's take a deep breath. But, you guys know how this goes. You're going to need depth at the end of the season. So, and I know running backs go and you want to have him, but if you lose Kamara, you're in deep shit. And if you have Ayuk and Pickens and you lose one, you still got another guy. And obviously, if you've got Ayuk on a good off, it's close.
Only because I like these guys. Like if it was like Ayuk and like Javonte Williams or something, that I'd be like, get Kamara. But I think if you can maybe get someone back, maybe like a Brian Thomas Jr. or someone like that with Kamara, then I would do it. I just hate losing 2 wide receivers for only 1 running back because I don't know what your receivers would look like after that. So for me, I'd like to just at least get a wide receiver piece back, unless there's a wide receiver on the waiver wires that you can pick up when you do open up that spot, like our boy Kendall over at the Fantasy Football Tavern. Make sure you guys are subbed to him. Always says when it's a 2-for-1 trade like this, remember that guy you're getting off the waiver wire is still part of that trade. So it's not just 2-for-1. You still are getting that open roster spot, which is has value in itself as well too. So good stuff. Appreciate it, Philly Mike. We know you're sub, so we appreciate it, man. Appreciate you coming out. Go ahead.
Chris Olave or Christopher Godwin, full PPR. How do you lean?
I think I'm Godwin right now. I'm riding the wave.
I'm for sure Godwin. Although I do think Olave can score a touchdown this week. I actually think he's an interesting play. I've got him in a DFS lineup stacked with Derek Carr. I'm going to stay in the flames with the Saints and hope that I'm right. So
I have Godwin at 13 and Olave at 17. So I like both of them this week.
This one's interesting. Lockett or Naylor in full PPR. So for those that don't know, that's
that's
Naylor
deep.
Of the Minnesota Vikings.
With no Addison.
I need to check. Minnesota is really interesting because I can see this game going one of 2 ways. I could see it being a shootout. I think that's what people think it's going to be. But then again, Minnesota's defense has been pretty good. The game's at home in Minnesota. As much as I think Stroud's going to chuck it and sling it, doesn't mean that's going to wind up in 4 or 5 passing touchdowns. So is Jefferson? What's Jefferson's deal? What's JJ's deal this week?
Oh, he's good. The quad, he's good to go. He's active. He's full go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He said no issues. Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably going to.
Hey, Naylor. Hey, 1 catch for 21 yards and a touchdown week 1. Yeah. Not a big deal. Only played 47% of the snaps, obviously with Addison out again. 93% of the snaps last week against San Francisco. 3 catches on 4 targets for 54 and another touchdown. I'll take him over Lockett, man. Lockett's hit or miss right now with the JSN emergence. So I'll get spicy here and take Naylor over Lockett. I don't have it ranked that way at all, but now that you present me the question, like give me Naylor over Lockett. I'm gonna make that change in my rankings right now, man.
Where do you have far apart? How many spots between the 2 of them do you have them?
So for Lockett, I have at 47. And I honestly don't even think I really even went down to Naylor, where he's probably even ranked down here. I don't even know where he is, or did I actually move him up?
Interesting.
Yeah. So I have Lockett at 47. I know that. So I'm not feeling him at the moment. And Naylor's down here at 65. I don't know if I quite got my rankings down all the way down here, if that kind of makes sense. I usually only kind of rank the top 50 or so.
I have him at 43 and 61. I have them significantly apart, and I'm going to take Naylor over Lockett. Two wide receivers versus 3. That's how I look at the question.
Yep.
Full
and
PPR.
I'm literally making that change now. So Naylor's my 47. That's going to move Lockett to 48. So there we go. Locked it in.
Full PP locked it in. Look what you did there.
Locked
You
it in, right?
locked and dropped.
Lock it
Tyler,
in.
lock it in your rankings. So
There it is. There it is.
a bump bum. We need some sound effects, buddy. We got to work
For
on
sure.
that.
For sure.
Dynasty 39
Man.
wants to know full PPR, Jalen Warren, Jake Ferguson, or Ladd at the flex. If Pittman is out, which two do you want? This question for me is also going to have a caveat star of if Ferguson is available, because he may not be. We think he's trending that way. It looks like he's going to play. But in a full PPR, similar to you earlier, it's not Travis Kelce. Like I said, I would play Travis Kelce in that question we had earlier in a flex because I like the Chiefs upside this week. But I'm not going to do that in this one. I'm going to take Ladd. I'm going to take Warren and hope there's some correlation in that game because they play each other.
Yeah, agreed. I could see how you could go Ferguson maybe over Ladd. I think Lauren's my lock for sure. But like I said, I don't really like having to flex a tight end. But like I said, if he was like fully healthy, maybe not just coming off this, but like I said, I think Dak locks in against this Baltimore, in this Baltimore game. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna change I'm going Warren and Ferguson, man. Ladd,
Okay.
I don't know, man. I mean, not quite yet. So let me go Warren and Ferguson.
It also depends if Herbert plays or not. If Herbert's out, I'm
That's
out on
the other
Ladd,
thing too.
right?
Yeah.
If it's Easton Stick, get me the F out of there. But look, Baltimore just lost at home to the Raiders. So I don't know that I put everything into the whole like Baltimore's D is the old Baltimore D. Like they're clearly beatable. So yeah, I'd have to think a little bit more on it. My early lean still says Warren and Ladd though. So
there we go.
There
you go.
Evening West Coast Bears hosts had to come in and get some of this goodness. I know I don't understand that, but we're all right. Is Pierce someone we should be targeting rather than Pittman? I actually think y'all need to start remembering Josh Downs is coming back this week, and I'm very interested to see what he looks like and if he unlocks this offense a little bit more. Anthony Richardson had a stinker last week. We all know it. The Packers just got out running behind Josh Jacobs, and what do you have? 2 picks and a fumble. I don't remember what he had. 3 turnovers. I think all 3 were interceptions. So it was not a good Richardson week. Even Josh Allen had a stinker, so don't poop your pants on that one. But I think Alec Pierce, if Josh Downs is healthy, and they say he is, I think Alec Pierce probably starts to fade out in the distance here, and it becomes the Pittman-Mitchell. I know Pittman's banged up, but it's the Pittman-Mitchell Downs show. And if Pittman is banged up, I could see a world, and I'll turn it to you after I say this, I could see a world where Downs becomes the de facto wide receiver 1 in this offense.
If Pittman's out, maybe. But what I've seen with Richardson throwing it down the field, I don't know if it's de facto one, but he did play very well with him last year when he was healthy. So I can definitely see that. So I'm not going to argue too much against that. So I'm just excited to see him get back and see what happens with this offense. So I'm not a fan of Pittman, as you know, or most people probably know. But I'm a big AD Mitchell guy, so that's what I want to hear.
I got a lot of the Richardson, AD Mitchell, Josh Downs best ball stacks because they were just so freaking cheap. So I'm excited for best ball to see if Josh Downs can go and start contributing. So there you go. Yeah, Joe Ortiz, good question. If you're winless and players are on your bench or not contributing, are you dropping them?
Depends on who you're dropping them for. Like just dropping people for no reason isn't anything to do. But yeah, you should be trying to turn over your bench. But if anything, try to focus on using those bench players and trading up to improve your starters. Like you don't need to worry about your bench. Worry about your starters if you're winless.
Well,
that's my take.
I'll answer the question this way. Let me just pull this roster real quick. This is my current bench right now in my redraft, my one redraft team that I play. Like this is my redraft team I care the most about. You ready for this bench?
Mm-hmm.
T. Higgins, Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, Samaje Perine, Jaden Daniels.
Jesus.
I could drop Jaden Daniels. I could because I have Anthony Richardson. I'd prefer not to because the volatility says I don't love having 2 quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league, but because I've got volatility, I kind of feel like I need him.
You'd have to trade him, not just drop him.
Exactly. I'd have to trade him. I'm certainly not dropping him. Perine could be relevant. We don't know what that backfield looks like, so I just picked him up off the wire. Obviously, I got outbid by $1 for Carson Steele, which sucked. But I
think that was the right decision.
I do too.
Steele fan. Yeah.
I'm going to drop AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and T. Higgins? Of course not. So So no, I think your answer is perfect. You got to see who you've got. But look, if you've got Samaje Perine or Carson Steele and you want to go pick up Cam Akers because you feel really strongly about it, I don't know that that's a move I would make because I think Mixon's probably only out a week, maybe 2. But if you've got somebody that you feel like just isn't doing it, I'm trying to think of a good name as I'm answering this question to say, like, Akers would be the obvious answer, right? Like, go get Cam Akers. He's in a starting role because, like, Charbonnet's not on the waiver wire, but Akers was. Right. Let me ask you this question, then we'll move on. Would you drop Quentin Johnston for Cam Akers?
Yes. Just because I'm not touching Quentin Johnston with the 10
I would too. I would too, but
yeah.
there's some people that'll say, oh, he scored 2 touchdowns. Yeah, well, good.
Not chasing that.
Exactly.
Especially with the Herbert on top of that and all that.
What about Ladd? Would you drop Ladd McConkey for Cam Akers?
I'd have to be hurting at running back, but I'd still want to stick it out with Ladd.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Just because I like that slot role and I think that helps in that offense. So
agreed.
Yeah, with Greg Roman. So hold on. Oh, sorry. We have a super chat that precedes the other one. See what happens? You drop us a super chat, you go right to the top of the line. You don't wait, you get your question answered right away. He says, sorry, if Pittman is in though, do you go Warren or Ferg? So follow-up question from Dynasty over here.
I still go I'm holding my answer because I don't know. Just because I'm still going to go Warren again with the injury. It's hard for me because I'm so high on Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is your Jordan Addison, is my Jordan Addison.
Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, in that case, I'd have to go with Ferg probably too. Honestly, though, if you had to ask me, like if I had to bet on who's going to score a touchdown, I would honestly say Ferguson is the higher touchdown upside than Warren. I just think Warren might get you there with the catches in full PPR. So,
100%.
So depending on what you need there, and again, Dynasty, we really appreciate that super chat, my guy. All right, so let's keep. Man, the questions keep coming in. Man, you guys are blowing up. We appreciate it, but we'll try to get through these as we can. Let's see. Tresner, I think it was where we left off. He says Swift or Zamir in the flex, or do you bench Kyron and play Swift and Zamir? Still think I have to go Kyron against the Niners. Yeah. And between Swift and Zamir, hey, Heat Override. Shout out to the Heat Override podcast, man. Make sure you guys go check him out too. Shout out to our Scott Fishbowl Predator division with my guy here. Flip a coin, bro. Like between Swift and Zamir, just flip a coin.
I'll take Swift just because Zamir's been
just kind of trash. Yeah,
Alexander Madison is scoring touchdowns and Caleb hasn't thrown one. So if Swift falls in the end zone, I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not shocked.
But when does Swift fall in the end zone?
Next year when he's playing for the Cowboys. Yeah. So, no, I'm kidding. He's on it. They paid him. He's gonna be in Chicago.
Yeah, no, he's there. They invested. So. Chicago just needs to get their shit together, man. They have the potential, man. They have the players. They have the talent. They just got to get it all together.
Yeah.
All right. So
cannot be there
for sure. What else we got? Jason's here saying again, a lot of new names. Hopefully, you guys are hitting that subscribe button for us. And if you're already subscribed, hit that like button. Helps us just as much. With Kittle out, Strange, Parkinson, Taysom, Gesicki, Higgins back. I think he'll get all his targets back. What should I do? So,
I mean, you know where I'm going here. We talked about earlier when we previewed the Cincinnati game. I don't think this is a big T Higgins week, Jason. I think this is a week where they ease him back in. That hamstring injury can linger. It's a game we don't expect to be highly competitive there. We expect Cincinnati to at least be ahead by enough that they don't need to throw it. So I'm going to go with the tight end portion of this question as a replacement for Kittle, and I go Parkinson.
Yeah, Fred Warner's a beast, bro. Like, you're not catching anything off it, and he's already just causing, like, he's literally like the only guy we have left right now, like on our team. I feel like that just has any of the captains basically that are like left, like holding our team together right now. But yeah, I think I'd still go Parkinson. Just with Taysom dealing with that chest injury, we're not sure. Strange, I don't know. I have to kind of see more. I'm still not feeling it. And I think you're right with Gesicki, and again, he is banged up. So if he's out, honestly, maybe Eric All might be a better option, and he's probably available in your league. So actually, I'm going to amend that, Jason, and I'm just going to say if Gesicki's out, screw all these other guys and go grab Eric All, man, with Cincinnati. And again, coming off like a four catch, 5 target game last week, and that was on top of Gesicki getting 9 targets. Higgins isn't coming back. We already said he's not playing a full complement of snaps, most likely. And so, it looks like there's some rapport building there with all. And again, Dynasty guys, go get Eric Hall if you don't have him already.
I have him. He's on.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm like, I know Phil got him, so I'm just saying for you other guys, make sure you grab him. Probably didn't even go drafted. You probably had him on your waivers. So
when you
there we go.
When you come play for Los Osos and you're on the taxi squad, we get you the nice blanket.
Yeah,
we get you a nice cup of coffee. Get the hand warmers when you play at Green Bay in the winter. We treat you right on my taxi squad, boy. We hook it up.
Right. He did say though. Jason said, or does he go Jonnu against the Seahawks? They had 91 yards and a touchdown against them last week. They have kind of been notorious for giving up points to the tight end position.
Yeah.
Skyler, Waddle, Hill.
Waddle. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I can't go there.
That was interesting. Yep.
Can't quite go there. Although, maybe Gianno's the safety blanket for Thompson. We always say kind of rookie or first year guys kind of lean on those tight end type routes, close to the line, so to speak, easy throws. But yeah, so there we go. Jason, new subscriber. There we go. What's up, man? We appreciate that. Hey, as long as we get one every show, we're good, man.
I know, and I threw my link in the chat there for you, Jason.
Yeah, so make sure, Jason, you subscribe to my boy Phil here too for giving his time here on this Friday night. A lot of time, man. We're at 2.5 hour mark. This is almost like an old school. You see how it's starting to just pick up now, man. Now you know why Classic and I were why we split up the show, because it'd be super late over there for him right now. So. E11 said he's a fellow Niner here from San Jose. Good advice, thank you. I'll see if Johnson is there. So good stuff, man. I appreciate it. So should I trade Kyron and Rice for Hall? Yes.
Yep.
I would do that. Do that. And we're big Rice fans here, but I would do that for sure. My team's absolutely loaded. I don't need the trade, but the opportunity to get even more so. Absolutely. Go get a guy.
You're loaded until someone goes down. So go do it. Yeah. Go do it.
With that open spot, go see if Braylon Allen is out there too and go get him just to back him up just in case. Go ahead.
Traded Carlos asking here, traded Hurts, Barkley. This is a lot from my brain. Traded Hurts, Barkley, Kelsey, Pickens. Okay. For Jaden Daniels, Bijan, Etienne, Pitts, and Love. Good trade or no? It's full PPR. I'm going to assume that this is single quarterback. One more time. Hurts, Barkley, Kelsey, and Pickens. For Daniels, Robinson, Etienne, Pitts, and Love. So 2 quarterbacks, Bijan, Etienne, and Pitts.
So Hurts is better than Daniels and Love, right? You're not trading. Let's just break it down, right? Daniels and Love for Hurts. Which side do you want on that?
Hurts.
I'll take Hurts.
Yeah.
Bijan or Barkley, toss up, right? Pretty much cancel each other out. Pitts or Kelsey.
With the stack though, with Hurts, I think that makes Barkley slightly more valuable. Bijan hasn't scored a touchdown yet. I mean, he's got the volume. Right. He's putting up numbers. He's got great numbers, but his touchdowns haven't been there yet.
Yeah, so then you go Kelsey or Pitts, and then mind you, if you're staying on the Pitts side, it's also stacked with Bijan Robinson.
Right.
So I think I'm kind of leaning Kelsey there, and then basically that leaves Pickens for ETN. You need the upside with the wide receiver there. You're getting a wide receiver, not giving one away. I like the outlook potentially for Pickens rest of the season. I think I'll take the Hurts, Barkley, Kelsey, Pickens side.
Yeah, that's how the longer I stare at it, that's how I lean at it too. And the other thing,
it's close though. I mean, good trade, but you guys should have just switched teams. Like at that point, you guys are switching your whole team.
I mean, you spayed so many guys. The one thing I will say is I do think you have a higher ceiling with the Hurts, Barkley, Kelsey, Pickens side.
That's how I like it too.
You have a higher ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer that Hurts Barkley stack over the Bijan and Pitt stack.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. And Dynasty just saying no problem. Thanks for the advice. And yeah, he's excited to get Ferguson and he's big on him. But Bowers was there a couple rounds later. Yeah. Bowers playing pretty well.
To be fair though, rookie tight ends, it's always a risky bet.
Hit or miss. Yeah.
Hit or miss. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going wrong though. Still like it. Justin Alvarez looks like a new got the Google logo there. Good stuff. Hopefully hit that subscribe button for us here, my guy. We are almost done here, man. So we'll try to get through these before more start rolling in. We'll sit here and answer them for you guys, man. But who should I have in my flex? Derrick Henry, James Conner, Jamison Williams, Zay Flowers, or Deontay Johnson? That's a nice squad if this is who you're deciding between your flex spot. I'm kind of filibustering here to give you, Phil, a little more time to take this one in. But who you have ranked the highest?
If it's full PPR, I'm taking Jameson Williams. Again, we've seen so much from him, the usage, the targets, the involvement. Amon-Ra had a shitty week 1. He had a much better week 2. To be fair, the Lions haven't really got going yet the way we expected them to. They will. I think this could be, again, against Arizona this week with a shootout potential. This could be a great get right spot for the team of the Lions. If it's half PPR, I probably lean Derrick Henry just with the touchdown upside there. It's still close for me.
I'm not feeling Connor, huh?
No. I was just
20,
say
coming off 20-point games, basically 19 points something.
No, but if
he's not hurt,
I still might take Jameson Williams and just stay in the flames with JMO right now, man. Like his usage has just been we've waited so long for Jameson Williams to be the guy. Well, he plays for Detroit, but I don't know.
I see what you mean. So if I had to rank these guys in this, in their current matchups here this week, I have Connor as my RB9 this week. I still like Connor in this Detroit game. Again, I just want a piece of this game. I think he'll score, and he does get worked in the passing game. He's not completely useless in the passing game. Then I'd go JMO, then I'd go Flowers, then I'd go Henry, and then I'd go Deontay Johnson. So that's how I would rank them.
Johnson's out for me, and Flowers is. I love the I
mean, I like Flowers. Like I have him as a start, but you have like way better options. I'll put him ahead of Henry for sure. But yeah, so good stuff. So you there? What's your rank? Go ahead and rank him.
Well, I have
gun to your head.
I have Connor as my RB11. I have him one spot behind Derrick Henry, but now I'm rethinking that because of Dallas's defense. In fact, I'm going to make the change right now. So I have Connor.
I have Henry as my RB18. I actually would start Kyron over Henry this week, man. I'm not feeling
you're
it.
Way out on it.
Yes.
But you just got slashed for 41 points, and the running back just went for 4 touchdowns.
I guess so, but man, I don't know, man. I think it's a Lamar game. That's why I have Lamar as my Lamar is my QB1 this week.
All right.
I think he just goes crazy. He was calling someone out, and it could have been Henry. Who else could it be?
That's true. You may have. It's JMO in full PPR, and you may have just talked me into James Conner in a half.
All right,
JMO's going to be in consideration. Put it this way: I'm going to click the button at 9:59 a.m. when the
literally just keep switching back and forth, and whichever one locks in.
I'm flip a coin or let my daughter put somebody in and set the last player in my flex spot. So
man, it's tough.
Hopefully that helps you out, Justin.
For sure. I'd say this way: if you need more of a floor play, again, we should always be shooting for upside, but like if you're just looking for some solid points out of that flex, James Conner I think is the choice. If you want like skyrocket upside, then Jameson Williams in that shootout. So that's where I'll agree with you there for sure. But yeah, I think it's definitely between Connor and Williams for me. So yeah. All right. So we got Ryan here. Again, Justin, hopefully you hit that subscribe button for us, man. We'd appreciate it. But we have Ryan here saying, should I trade Gibbs for Mason and Pollard? Absolutely not. That's a hard no for me.
0%.
All right.
I wouldn't trade Gibbs for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So Achane, Gibbs, Bijan, and Mason, he has to bench one. Dang, Trez.
Man, that's your squad, dude. Good job. You are probably
it's like 4 of my top 10 backs. Like that's 4 of my top 10 backs this week.
Well, I'll just check I know what my answer is, but I just want to check and see if my rankings agree with my own assessment here. Ooh.
I think he's trying to test us, man. Trying to test our loyalty here. Trying to test our loyalty. I have Mason as the bench. I have these 3 guys ahead of him.
I do too, but I now realize. So here's my rankings. I have. Wow, that's close. I have Bijan at RB1. All right, what else was the question? Achane, Gibbs, and Mason. I have Achane at 4, Gibbs at 6, and Mason at 7.
So I am Bijan at 4, Achane 5, Gibbs 6, and Mason at 10.
Okay.
Well done, Trez. Well done.
Yeah. So the bench was right with the rankings. We're good.
For sure. Justin, he said, thanks for the advice, and he subscribed. Let's go, my guy.
Let's go.
Hopefully through my guy here, Phil is subscribed as well, too. So we'd appreciate that. I mean, maybe he's watching on your channel. I don't know. But hopefully, yeah, there you go. Make sure you go through my guy, too. The links are all in the description.
I'll refresh the page and see.
There it is, man. We'll see. We'll see.
Not quite yet.
For sure. Good stuff. We have Sal here saying PPR he traded away right when we thought we were done, man. We got like 20 more questions popping. This is crazy. We love it,
There we
though, but
go.
it's crazy. We might have to go hard out at like 3 hours. So, like, we'll get through as many as we can. I don't know if I can go longer than that. But Sal says PPR traded away J.K. Dobbins and Garrett Wilson for Jamar Chase and Jalen Warren. What are your thoughts?
Good job.
Well done, man. You must have been watching our buy sell trade show on Wednesdays. If not, that's when we do it. Jamar Chase has been my number one buy low target. You did it at just the right time going up against this Washington defense. I have him as my wide receiver 1 this week. Very well done.
I need to check.
Well,
Jamar
and
Chase.
he got the Warren. And that's the thing is most people would just go Dobbins and Wilson for Chase. I love that he got Warren back in that deal. Like that's so underrated to me. So well done. Well done. Justin said one last question. Because you're a new subscriber, we got you, my guy. This is what we do. So I keep hitting the wrong button and bringing up a whole other screen here that takes my question away. So one last question. I got a
Monday night game. Sorry,
what happened?
Well, because I wanted to see what Jamar Chase's price was in DFS, because I was like, why am I not?
He's the Monday game.
Because he's not my high. I was like, why do I not have any exposure to? And then I was like, fuck, it's the Monday night game. That's why he's not on the main. Okay, not the main slate. Damn. That's a shame.
Good stuff.
That's right. That might be one of those DFS captains lineups for that game.
Right.
Where I might have
Yeah,
to
for sure.
that.
Just Chase isn't the
right,
captain
right.
for sure. I'm expecting 2 touchdowns, like 130 yards. Like let's
might
go.
be.
Yeah, on like 15 targets and 10 catches. Like feed the man. Give him his money. All right. So one last question. He says, I got an offer for Derrick Henry, Hunter Henry, and Deontay Johnson for Saquon and Dak. You think that's good?
He's getting Saquon and Dak.
If you're getting like we're taking the Saquon and Dak side, at least that's what I'm taking.
That's the stronger side. So if that's what you have, do not take the trade. If that's what you're acquiring, you smash that button and
leave here, hit accept, and then come back and check out our outro here.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Trezor said it's a good test, but I do legit have a team with those 4 guys on it. So yeah, I thought you were putting my loyalty to Mason here to the test, my guy. So this looks like it's going to be the last one, unless we get another super chat here after Gabe. We are going to call it a night here. Let's go. Jason said he subscribed everywhere. That's what's up, my guy. We appreciate that. And again, we promise we'll be bringing you some good content here throughout the year. And let alone when we get in the off season, wait till we see what we do then. This is just, the normal stuff, where we really make our mark is in the off seasons for your dynasty and getting you prepped for your redraft. So anyway, Gabe says, do you think it's worth stashing AJ Dillon in dynasty? I'll turn this over to you, my guy, as our dynasty extraordinaire.
No, I think AJ Dillon's done. At the end of the year, at the end of last season, they actively shopped and went out and found Josh Jacobs. I don't think there's a world where AJ Dillon is going to come back in this team with Josh Jacobs on technically a 3-year contract, but there's ways to get out of it. But they've got Marshawn Lloyd. AJ Dillon's out for the year on IR. That's not going to help his cause at all. So no, I don't think it's worth stashing him. I'd go see if Carson Steele in a waiver is possibly on a waiver wire in some of your dynasty leagues. He's probably not, but I'd go look for him. I'd go pick up Tank Bigsby. Had such a poor season last year. It's possible he was dropped. I'm just trying to think if there's another name that's out there of guys that you could. Tyrone Tracy is not a name that's going to be relevant this season, but in Dynasty with Devin Singletary really being the only guy there, it is possible that he gets a roster spot in New York next year, and we're not really sure what's going to happen because I believe off the top of my head, Singletary is on a 1-year deal in New York. I think
it was like 2 year, but I think it was like one of those 2 years. That's really a 1 year kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. So those are some names that I think are probably deep guys in the league that possibly are still on your waiver wire that I would just drop Dylan and try to grab, another guy. And if you're feeling, we talked about Eric All on the show. Jordan Whittington's an interesting name. Like there's some other guys at non-running back positions in a dynasty league that are deep sleepers that are out there that are young rookies that could have a role. Taj Washington in Miami is another interesting name. If you're going to drop AJ Dillon, he might be on your waiver wire as well. I would go look at a player like Taj Washington in Miami.
Yeah. And it kind of sucks, though, because, of course, we are fans of AJ Dillon. If you guys went back and watch our intro, you'll see our boy has some great things here to say about Get Right Fantasy Network. So we're always rooting for him, man. I hope he does come back, and I hope he is a thing. because again, we appreciate him taking the time to give us the love. But yeah, man. So there we go. And Justin was asking, so what's the channel for the man on the right? Like this, we go the man on the right. No, I'm just kidding. So there it is, man. Right there, yeah. I know, right? So there it is on the screen, man. Just scroll up, you'll see it in the chat. But easily you could just go into the description, and it's all there for you as well under the Get Right affiliate channels. So yeah, Extra Point. Make sure you get to our boy as well. Just like Jason said, he's subscribed everywhere. That's all of our affiliate channels, man. So make sure you do that. The Fantasy Football Tavern with Kindle, who was on our Part 1 show earlier today. And then, of course, Phil here with the Extra Point. Then we have, of course, Tycoon with the Fantasy Boardroom, and a couple of new shows coming for you guys as well, man. So we're continuing to grow, giving you as much content that we can. So while I was talking, of course, one more question had to come up, and I just can't end the stream without answering the questions, man. I can't do it. So Jesse, you will now be the last one. And just so you know, if you just popped in, make sure you hit that subscribe if you're not already subscribed, Jesse, because I said I wasn't taking any more questions unless it was a super chat, but we're here for you. We got you. So who would y'all start between Barkley, Achane, Gibbs, and Mason? That's almost the same question that Tresner asked. So how would you rank these guys?
This is the same as we did that one. Oh,
it was Bijan. It was Bijan instead of Barkley. So
Mason's still the bench for me. I'm starting. Barkley to me is a strong play this week with no AJ Brown. I know he literally and figuratively dropped the ball last week to lose the game.
He's going to be on a vengeance.
Yeah, but against New Orleans in the Dome, I have him as my RB3 this week.
Hey, me too.
I hope the Saints stay in the flames and stay hot because we know the Eagles can score points and their defense ain't great. So let's have a shootout. Let's go get some points there, Eagles and Saints.
There it is. Yeah, so I have it ranked basically exactly how you have it written. Barkley, Achane, Gibbs, and Mason. A little bit of gap with Mason as my RB10, but Barkley, Bijan, Achane, Gibbs is who I go 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Where do you have JT?
JT, a little down on JT. I have him at RB8. I actually have Cook ahead of him.
I just too.
Okay, yeah, I have Cook ahead of him.
I like Chicago's defense. I think Chicago's defense has been good. They won them the game the first week.
Yes,
they could have won them the game last week. So yeah, I think they're, I think they're making up for what Caleb is not doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only one I might change here is I have ETN behind Brian Robinson Jr. Maybe I throw ETN ahead of it. I just wasn't kind of feeling that Jacksonville offense when I was doing my rankings. But maybe after answering all these questions, I might slip him ahead. Maybe I got a little too bullish on B-Rob, so we'll see. But Jesse, we appreciate it, man. Hopefully you hit that subscribe for us, man. So yeah, I said thanks, y'all. So we appreciate it, man. Thanks for checking us out. So I'm going to give the floor to my guy here really quick so he can tell you again who he is, where you can find him, and of course what he has going on his channel. So let me get this banner off here for you, give you the full screen. Go ahead, my guy.
Let's do it. Yeah, so you can see up in the right-hand corner, the Extra Point. That's me, Phil Ruskin. We will be live every Thursday night during the season at 4 p.m. doing some DFS and over-unders, higher lowers, player props. I'll take you right up until game time for Thursday Night Football. I am adding a new show starting next week. I will be going back to my original content where we're going to be going through dynasty trade outlooks, buy lows, sell highs, what you're looking at in a redraft league, but still with the dynasty perspective. That will be Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Then, of course, you can catch me here with Rasta every Friday night going through our sit starts, breaking down the game slate for you as a part of the Get Right Fantasy Network. I am a writer over at Dynasty Pros Football. You can check out my podcast content on Patreon and Spotify. And if you're interested in some written content, jump on over to dynastyprosfootball.com and you can check out some of my written articles there as well. Message me on Sleeper at P. Ruskin. Any questions, any content that you want to see or hear on the show. I'll obviously do all a live Q&A like we do here tonight, answering your questions. But I love to get stuff pre-written up, or at least have some ideas of what I want to talk about on my shows from the listeners, from you guys. So message at P. Ruskin on Sleeper, and I will do my best to work your questions into the show.
For sure. Well said, my friend. Well said. Again, we appreciate you. A great addition to the Get Right Fantasy Network. I don't know how I got so lucky to get you and Kindle here with us, man. But you guys just came in and fit like a glove for what we want here. to give this advice here to the people, man. Have fun with it. Love the work that you guys put into it, man. So again, we're all degenerates here. So again, really appreciate you, especially spending your Friday nights here with me, man. So I can't thank you enough.
Brother.
For sure. So yeah, enough of that show of emotion. But yeah, so make sure you guys are supporting these guys like we talked about, man. Their links are down in the description. So again, like we said, we'll be back here Sunday morning. So anything, if you do have last minute questions, or if you're watching this, didn't catch it live, and you want to get your question in there, come see us on Sunday. We'll be here live. Classic Mike will go through the active and inactive list with you and get your lineups right before kickoff. And then, of course, we'll come back, do our waiver wires Monday, trade talk on Tuesday, and, of course, Phil's shows and everything else all in between. So a ton of content. So make sure you have those notifications on from all of us here at Get Right, man. Let's get out of here before we hit this 3-hour mark, man. For Dustin, for Frank, for Classic Mike, for Tycoon, for Phil, for Kendall, for me over here at Get Right, man. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you. Good luck. Take them down. Let's get this week 3 under our belt. Have a good one. See you on Monday.
Peace.